Hey, listeners, just some quick housekeeping. Tom Rothman, the head of Sony Pictures, was on the Town with Matt Bellany podcast to talk about Sony, movies, AI, everything. If we had literally waited like a day, we would have gotten the announcement that he intends to continue a new version, or I guess reboot the Sony Spider-Man universe. So there's no Morbius 2, but there will be other stuff. Anyways, I was wrong. I proudly declare that, oh yeah, this is dead. They're not going to give this another shot. If I had waited 24 hours to record the episode with Matt, I would have not said that. That's it. That's an update. Okay, enjoy the rest of the episode. I think everything else is factually correct. Bye.
I don't know why it always like skips a little bit, but whatever the fuck. Fuck it.
You know what? It's not
Fuck
been a
it.
problem, and I think that's a sign of improvement.
Yes, we're doing
it's a
great.
Good sign for us. Yeah.
No mistakes.
Everything's great.
No mistakes at the Waffle Press. Ever.
No, hell no. Here at the Waffle Press Movie Podcast Retrospectives, I'm your host, Diego Crespo. With me today is my co-host, Matt Garingo.
That's me.
Yeah, we're talking failed superhero blockbusters, and oh boy, we've got a hell of a one today. Because we're not just talking about one movie. We're not just talking about a single franchise. We're talking about like 8 attempts at a franchise and then 6 movies. And the reason we're doing that is because, frankly, none of them are that interesting that they could sustain their own episode. But we could talk about all of them at the same time and kind of cover similar ground anyways.
Yeah.
With the exception of one. I think there's one genuinely like enjoyable, good movie in here, and I think that's controversial. Unless you have a heart that is open and willing to accept love, like me. So we're here to talk about the Sony-verse movies. Actually, you know what? This technically, I didn't even really consider this, but like we do have to technically talk about the Spider-Verse movies a tiny bit, just briefly, because we've done episodes.
Yeah,
on those
I mean
movies.
that's definitely part of it. You know, that's definitely. Like I said, this is an excuse to talk about a bunch of movies, really. Like, that's just obviously right.
Yeah,
like,
Sony's Spider-Man universe, the SSU, which is the official title for the franchise. Yeah, we're going into the Sony-verse today, people. And the fact that no one really knows it's called Sony's Spider-Man universe is probably a bad sign for a franchise. Because it's also dead now. That's
it's dead.
The unspoken thing.
Just to like really wind the clock back, I do remember that people were like, it's the Sony Spider-Verse derogatorily right at the beginning before Amazing Spider-Man was even out. Like once it was like Sam Raimi isn't doing Spider-Man 4, I remember people being like, here comes the Sony Spider-Man, like as a really like mocking it type thing. Like I remember that very specifically.
Yeah, because people were fucking like Spider-Man 3 made it on Empire's like list of 100 worst movies of all time, which is wrong, by the way. You don't have to love that movie like I do, but like what the fuck is wrong with you?
When did that happen?
That was like
when was this?
That was like Dark Knight Rises era. Like that's the start of the real superhero boom between that and the Avengers releasing. I remember that being there. I'm gonna fact check this. I don't feel like I need to respect outlets like that anymore, but I do want to make sure I get that right. But yeah, people were fucking pissed after Spider-Man 3, and so like there were pockets of people that were like, oh, they can make a more comic accurate Spider-Man now for the fans because that phrase wasn't completely insidious yet.
Mm-hmm. And there was a like, and look, we talked about, we've done the Spider-Man films elsewhere, right? Yeah. Back during like pandemic era, I believe. Like we were all losing our minds. Like just before the pandemic hit,
yeah.
I think we were talking
really
about
quickly.
The Spider-Man films.
Empire's 50 worst movies ever.
Oh, so it made like the top 50. Go fuck yourself, Empire.
Yeah, it's number 50. This was published in 2010.
Wow.
Yeah. Wrong.
Well, you know what? All right. To give them one bit of credit, like that is probably the moment you could have done that, right? Like it's still wrong, obviously. Mm-hmm. But that's why, because to me, it was a like, okay, Spider-Man 3 kind of a like, it's not good. Like it's uneven, right? Like that's like I'm
Yeah,
not a
I love
giant
it.
fan of
It's
Spider-Man
uneven.
3. It's very it's one of those where it irks me enough from like there's great stuff in it, but man, just a couple more tweaks it would be like the best one of the trilogy, in my opinion. Like it's one of those where it's always going to annoy me that it's not great. Spider-Man 3 comes out, it's uneven, it's not really received very well. I remember being disappointed by it at the time. And then it's like, oh, and we're not gonna get a fourth one, right? There was like a moment where you go, okay, well, maybe the fourth one will fix things. And then when it's like we're not even gonna do Spider-Man 4, and then you're like, oh, what the fuck? And that's probably the moment you can kind of go, well, it did technically kill the franchise for a moment, right? That they were so dissatisfied with it that they're gonna go with a reboot, which will be out in 2 years, in 2010. 2 years from 2010, we're gonna get Amazing Spider-Man. And so there's like a pocket where we just go, okay, maybe Amazing Spider-Man 3 will be looked back on as the bad one, right?
Hmm.
That in a world where only three Spider-Man movies exist, maybe Spider-Man 3 will be looked at as the bad one. And now it's like, oh dear.
We didn't know how good we had it.
Exactly. Like that's really Spider-Man 3's biggest the biggest thing that's helped it in recent years is that there are now many more significantly worse Spider-Man movies.
Yeah. And some of them don't even have Spider-Man in them,
Yes, exactly.
which is
Um,
hilarious.
but I guess let's try to put ourselves back in that mindset. Amazing Spider-Man, the first one is like the year I'm about to graduate from high school, basically. Um,
Hmm.
and I remember seeing that in theaters. I'm sure we've had this discussion on that episode, but you know what? Was I not there for those? I remember there's like two episodes of that
No,
thing
you
where I
you were recovering from surgery or something like that, and I was like, I could wait, and you're like, oh, you could just you could do those. I'm you didn't
oh,
want to do those fully or something like
that's
that.
what it was. That's what it was. So I've never actually discussed these movies on the show.
Yeah. Although
Interesting.
I want to give you the chance to do that, but I want to say really quickly, I would recommend going back to those Spider-Man ones because I am very proud of them. But I'm most proud, perhaps, of getting several guests for the Amazing Spider-Man 2 and individually recording episodes and then stitching them together
Hmm.
to like present the experience of that movie because people were like softballing that movie now. No. There's fun stuff in that movie. I'm not going to deny that. That's fucking terrible. That movie is fucking awful. Don't sit here. We all love Emma Stone and Andrew Garfield and them together. Don't do that to yourself. Don't degrade yourself. Don't debase yourself
Yeah.
with saying that's an okay movie. No. Let's not lose sight of the truth, despite there being worse movies now in the franchise. Sorry, go ahead. I just need
My
to get that out
biggest
there.
memory of Amazing Spider-Man 2 is I took my younger brother to see it, and he's about a decade younger than me. And I remember going to McDonald's with him after the movie and trying to explain to him why Gwen Stacy died in the movie. And I was like, look,
It's so stupid.
I'm like, like this there's a lot of nerds out there who were waiting for this moment. Like, you don't understand. People have been clamoring for the death of Gwen Stacy.
It's so stupid.
Yeah.
But for the first one, the Amazing Spider-Man, were you? I mean, you could be honest. Like, were you excited for like a more? Because I remember Batman Begins and like Casino Royale were like the big reboot touchstones, and they talked about like Batman
Yeah.
Begins. I think at one point, like we're doing that for Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Were you into that back then,
It's
or were you just
definitely
like I don't care?
I was definitely a little closer. There's a part of me was like, when does Oz and Great and Powerful come out? That's like 2013, right? Like, so I think it's like Sam Raimi's still doing movies, so I'm not like upset. And this isn't this video game market where like, I mean, this movie market where if a director gets kicked off a franchise, they just disappear into television. Like, it's so like a lot of the stakes for losing Sam Raimi as the director of Spider-Man weren't as big for me. Where I'm like, he's got projects going on, stuff will happen. Um, and I do kind of remember being like, okay, like I'm a fan of like the Ultimate Spider-Man comics. I I like I by this point I'm not really reading Spider-Man because I was one of those people really burned by One More Day, which I believe is also the same year as Spider-Man 3, which might have influenced the negative
That's
reception of it.
fucking crazy.
Yeah.
That's why mainstream Spider-Man's like dead now.
Yeah. And it was specifically just to help kind of make there's a weird era of comics, which I don't know how much I know they still do it, but it's not as prevalent, where when a big movie came out, they suddenly had to change the comic to be more like the movie, so they thought that would help get the movie audiences to read the comic books, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a big Batman event from right around the time of Batman Begins, which is basically, I think it's War Games. Do you remember this one?
Oh, I
It's
don't remember
it's
that
not
one.
very it's one of the more bad ones. It's the one where Stephanie Brown is Robin for like 2 seconds and then dies, and that was like a big controversy at the time.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
And they just kill her because she's not in Batman Begins.
yeah, and well, it was literally like the whole event was basically to be like, we got to make Batman a loner again, so it can be more like Batman Begins. Like, that was the impetus
Jesus Christ.
behind that. It was like, and we got to make it more gritty and realistic and stuff like that. And then it's literally like that lasted maybe, I don't know, like 3 or 4 years. Then Grant Morrison started writing Batman and just went like, let's just go insane. So,
Well,
but
the big one for me is actually I don't want to hear more about your Amazing Spider-Man takes, but like the Amazing Spider-Man 2 coming out is right after the Superior Spider-Man run,
oh
which starts weird and then ends pretty fucking great, if I'm being honest. And I've talked about that before. And then Peter Parker comes back, and it's like it's one of the great like fuck yeah moments in modern comics where Otto like he's like, I don't know how to like I'm not the Superior Spider-Man. Like, it's you. Like, I don't understand like how you can put others before yourself that way. And I don't know how to beat this now with the Green Goblin, so it has to be you. And he like gives his body back, and he like it looks like he's dead forever, which obviously he's not. But what a fucking great ending for that character if they did that. And like and Peter's like moved by it, and he's like, all right, my turn. And then it's like, fuck yeah, Peter's back, and the ending of that's so good and exciting. And then it's like, oh my god, what, you can go anywhere with him now as a character, like this is gonna change everything. And it's like, yeah, Electro's here now. It's like, okay, I don't know what he's also blue. Okay, why is, oh, and then you see the trailers for the movie, and it's like, oh, we're gonna do some Gwen Stacy shit. And I was like, oh my god, it's just what
yeah,
happened. And it was just because they needed to do stuff related to that fucking movie.
yeah. I mean, wow, that's just embarrassing. Um, I've not read any of the Superior Spider-Man stuff. Like I said, I basically jumped off of Spider-Man post One More Day, but I was reading Ultimate Spider-Man, which then has the terrible, like a year before Amazing Spider-Man comes out, is the terrible Ultimatum. Remember Ultimatum, where they destroyed the entire Ultimate universe in Marvel?
Yeah.
Written by
How long did
Chillen.
that take back then? That was like 9 years that the Ultimate Universe ran.
Yeah. And I believe it was also destroyed in another reason, just to be like, we have to reset this for the movies. I think that was another thing that was happening. And then that was so poorly received that they basically just never capitalized off of it. And then they just got rid of the Ultimate Universe. Right?
Yeah. Well,
Like,
hey, don't worry, they brought it back, and now it's ending again.
all right,
It lasted about 2 years. So,
cool. Great.
good
Love
job,
comics.
everyone.
Love
Yeah.
comics.
I wonder why they can't keep readers.
Yeah. I mean, look, the one thing that came out of that was good is that we get Miles Morales Spider Man comes in like shortly after that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, um, and that that's happening right around this time. So like that's kind of the juice that Spider Man has at the moment. We don't realize how big Miles Morales is really going to be, right? Like,
Yeah.
that now, like you really can't. No, I won't say anything, but like every now and then they do something where it's like, we got a new Batman, we got a new Superman, and it just never sticks. And it was never really meant to stick, right? It's usually just a
Mm-hmm.
like get people reading. It's an exciting new thing. But now you can't get Miles Morales is such a part of the Spider-Man mythos. He might as well have been there from the beginning for a lot of people. Like
No,
he's a
yeah, truly. I've had this conversation probably even on this show, but like to a generation of kids, like Miles Morales is the Spider-Man, and like they're not wrong to feel that at all. Like
yeah,
the character's got the depth, the complexity, the dexterity. You could put him on street level stuff. You could put him in the cosmic stuff that I hate.
Hmm.
You know, like I've talked about it before, like the Spider-Verse stuff I actually hate minus the
Yeah.
movies. Like I don't want it to exist, but those movies I just think are excellent. So you get the pass as long as you're as good as those movies.
Well,
And
here's where
yeah.
they fucked up, in my opinion, with this Miles Morales as a character. Like, not like the character's fine, but they really hit on the right thing, which is that Peter Parker. They keep trying to make Peter Parker like his teenage self in the comics, right? Like
Mhm.
the Clone Saga was an attempt to be like, let's go back to basics with Spider-Man, right? Like, which is really
That's
funny
so fucking
to
funny,
think
but it's
about.
true.
Yeah, that was like their attempt, and it was embarrassing, and it just made everything more convoluted and worse. And then One More Day is like, we have to get rid of Spider-Man's supporting cast because he's got to be a single guy, right? He can't be married to Mary Jane anymore because that's not interesting, apparently. And it's like, we got to make him, they keep trying to make him a teenager, even though he's grown as a character in a lot of ways. And really, Miles Morales came in to be like, hey, let's just do two Spider-Man because teenager Peter Parker is not what a teenager now looks like, right? Peter Parker in the
Hmm.
60s was a very different teenager than Peter Parker now. And to be like, let's do a new guy. Miles Morales is much closer to what the youth is feeling, frankly, than if we were to just revert Peter Parker in age. If you were to revert Peter Parker in age, he would be a totally different character. So had this great opportunity to be like, okay, Miles Morales will be all the young Spider-Man stories we want to tell, and Peter Parker can be the adult, and then they still won't let Peter Parker marry Mary Jane. Like, it's so absurd. They won't let him grow as a character. They keep wanting him to just
Well,
be the
they
guy.
that's why the Hickman run right now in the Ultimates that's like literally just about to end.
Yeah.
I think the week after recording this episode, like Peter and MJ are married. They have kids. Um, there's interesting dynamics of characters that you don't see. Like I really don't want to give it away because whoever like ends up reading it, like it is very good and exciting, and it's one of the best first issues of a comic like ever, in my opinion. And it's so fresh and just like it just shows that there's still so much potential for stories with these characters that we like.
Mhm.
If you just like try, like literally just do an attempt, you
Yeah.
could probably do something cool.
You could probably,
And
if you
they
just
did it for a
try,
little bit.
Ken, you gotta let these characters grow. Like, as much as like, yes, like a comic has to be something that can be accessible to people. You can pick up any issue, blah blah blah. But like, you can't be telling the same fucking stories with these guys for that long, right? I know this is going against what I'm saying with like the Eternals episode, but like I'm talking more about like market forces here. Like we're at an age. The reason why manga has taken off is because manga tells even the real long runners that go way too long do tell complete stories where characters have arcs and change and shift, right? Like they're
Hmm.
it's super long, but there's an ending to Dragon Ball. it's there's an ending to Bleach, although they keep bringing Bleach back. Like One Piece hasn't ended, but there's still a lot of like shifting and growing and changing that goes along with One Piece. And the comics kind of, if we're gonna make comics for this modern age, you got to make them that way, right? Like you got to start letting these people grow and change, and that's just the modern market we're in. And they can't let it happen because these people are products, right? These characters are just products, and they have to be able to serve the movies that are coming out, right? Like the comics are just secondary at this point to the multimedia franchises that is Spider-Man, which is these movies and video games and stuff like that. And even though they bomb a lot and fail and are embarrassing, and but I don't know, it's like I mean, Grant Morrison. They had the right idea when they killed Batman. Remember, like
Yeah.
part of, and it did not say Batman needed to die, but Grant Morrison's whole thing was they were like, look, the modern Batman is Dick Grayson. Dick Grayson is a lot closer to what a Batman is, and then you want a punk kid, Damian Wayne, as Robin. Like you want to reverse it. Like that's where we were at in the culture, and I think arguably still at. Like that dynamic works so much better than Batman and Damian, right? Like
Hmm.
Dick Grayson and Damian work so much better, and that it just seems to be where the culture was at. And I think that's instead of rebooting the whole universe, those are the type of dynamic changes we should be seeing. But they'll never do that, right?
Yeah.
Because DC
I mean,
DC
honestly,
was a little more daring with that stuff because I mean, literally there were like 17 Robins. Like we've had, they let Dick Grayson grow up, which is interesting, right? Like,
yeah, grow up. He doesn't have to be Batman even.
yeah,
Like I'm definitely a fan who's like he doesn't need to be. He could be Batman like
yeah,
part time whenever they need a hand because shit happens in comics.
yeah, yeah.
But like no, he's his own guy too.
Yeah, no, I don't mean like he literally has to be. I just think that dynamic is interesting. Like, but
No,
it,
yeah, it was one of the better ones, and like to the point where people are like, when's Damien gonna show up in the movies at this point?
well,
And
that's
where
allegedly
like
that's what
people
the
want
new
the Robins.
yeah, allegedly that's what the movie's gonna be. The Brave and the Bold that they're working on.
Yeah, sure, whatever.
Yeah,
I'm
if
sure
it
that's gonna happen.
yeah, allegedly that's what's going on there. And I'm sure it'll work great. I'm sure people would love to just dive right in with the 7 Robins that precede Damien. What a bad idea. They were grooming Tim Drake to kind of be like they were always like Tim Drake is going to be Batman like in the future. Like that seemed to be the setup they were doing for a long time, right? Like
Hmm.
there's all sorts of comments in especially the 2000s where they're like Batman's even like Tim Drake is better than me at this, right? Like he's like this kid and he's got a better attitude. He'll be Batman at some point. Like that it seemed like that's what they were going with for a little while. And then they killed Tim Drake's father in fucking Identity Crisis, which is a terrible decision, a terrible comic. But because Tim Drake's whole thing was that he
Yeah.
actually figured out Batman's identity on his own, right? Like that was the thing, right? If I remember correctly,
Hmm.
like he was before he like he kind of just was like, I'm gonna be Robin, I'll figure out who Batman is, and he did it.
Yeah.
And now they don't know what to do with Tim Drake, unfortunately. It seems like he's been
No.
killing his father was the dumbest decision they could have done in the comics. Because part of what made him interesting was that he had a happy home life, right? They do this all the fucking time. Why
Yeah.
do they do that? How dumb are comic book writers that they're like, people don't want
I
happy
don't
home
know.
lives? Like,
I
ugh.
mean that's why I really fuck with that Blue Beetle movie too.
Yeah,
It's like he just got a normal family life. Like it's not easy. Like you see their they have like economic struggles and shit,
yeah,
and obviously they live in like the low income areas because there's like some class stuff going on there. But
yeah.
that's another like avenue that just isn't explored a lot. It's like, hey, what if you had like a decent home life? Doesn't mean life's gonna be easier
Yeah.
when you're a superhero.
Well, that was what was fun about Blue Beetle was that he shows up and he's like, "Hey guys, I'm Blue Beetle." Like he doesn't even try to hide it from his family initially in the comic. Like
Yeah.
he's like, "Fuck it, I'm Blue Beetle," and then they're like, "Oh, okay. I guess we'll help. You're an idiot." Like his whole family is just like supportive but like annoyed. Like it's great. It's a
Yeah.
it's a fantastic dynamic. And again, Blue Beetle is a lot closer to what a modern teenager, modern Spider-Man would be, right? Like that.
Hmm.
And I know that like I know people get annoyed with that. Like Blue Beetle, the current Blue Beetle is DC's answer to Spider-Man. But in the dynamic of teenage superhero, I think that is more accurate, right? Not he's not a one-to-one to Spider-Man, but in terms of teenage power fantasy hero, I think Blue Beetle's a lot closer than Spider-Man is now. And then like I'm talking Peter Parker. We're getting
Yeah,
deep into
absolutely.
comic book dynamics right now.
Yeah.
Just
No, and then probably the closest thing Marvel has or had, I don't know what the fuck's happening anymore,
yeah,
but was Miss Marvel,
yeah,
Kamala Khan,
yeah, and it seemed like they fucked
and
her up too in the comics of
yeah,
just
they killed her off in like a Spider-Man comic,
yeah.
which is just like insulting,
Did she
and this is a
start?
good way to wrap it back into
But
that,
did
but
she also
yeah, it's
start dating Miles Morales at one point? Like,
I don't know because I after that brief stint where they killed Spider-Man comics again to tie into the main Spider-Man stuff. That's when I hop off comics.
yeah,
That like that year
mhm,
2014. Yeah, outside of like the Matt Fraction Hawkeye, which was the last like mainstream Marvel comic I read, which is excellent, by the way. The Matt
Yeah.
Fraction and David Aha. But that's where I hop off. So I don't know all the dynamics of what goes on,
God damn.
but I know she's like tight with Miles Morales, and they do like a Young Avengers lineup with him and Nova and her, and it seems kind of fun. But I'm like, it's I just don't care anymore.
But also, like,
So.
look at like to wind the clock back again, to go back to this era, because a lot of what we're talking about kind of happens in the same era when the Amazing Spider-Man comes out, and
Fucking evil movie.
well, yeah. Well, I was saying it speaks to how bad, because Miss Marvel, Miles Morales, and Hawkeye were comics that felt like they really crossed over into the mainstream, right? Like that, the Matt Fraction Hawkeye. My sister, without any like support from, like, I did not guide her towards it. I did not. She's not a huge comic book reader, but she just started reading the Hawkeye comic independently. It was like, I heard there's a girl Hawkeye. It seems cool, and she like really liked it and read it, and like Marvel had a
Yeah.
moment there where they were really winning back young people, and like now when I look at them, like, it's just been totally wasted in the time being. And I think a part of that is the tension between the comics and the films, like how in keeping they are with the movies, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
like I think that like
And I
that's
mean, I think there's this also subgroup of Spider-Man fans that are like, well, I want to see stories about the Spider-Man. I want to see him as an adult.
uh,
And it's like, I agree with that in comics. I don't really agree with that in the movies. Mostly because they just haven't really tapped into that in the movies.
yeah.
Like, not to spend too much more time on the Amazing Spider-Man. We should talk about where that leads us, because it leads us to hell. But like, that was a chance in that first movie to like, okay, we're doing high school stories.
Mhm.
And then they kind of do in that movie, and I think there's good stuff in both the Amazing Spider-Man movies. They're both terrible,
Yeah.
but like they also like don't do that, and then he graduates at the start of the second
That's
movie,
when you
and then
know
doesn't do anything.
shit is fucked, because that was literally the only reason he graduates at the start of Amazing Spider-Man 2 is to set up this ridiculous shared universe they were trying to do, right? Like that was totally a
Hmm.
studio note thing, right? That like we have to graduate him because he has to be ready for the 17 other movies that are coming, right? Like,
Hmm.
which it's just absurd. Like, and like Amazing Spider-Man 2 is genuinely one of the worst superhero movies ever made.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the worst like blockbusters ever, and
Yeah.
it's got the hallmarks of other bad blockbusters of that era, where it's like, how do you appeal to foreign audiences, specifically in China? Not that there's anything wrong with that, but there was clearly like business oriented decisions to do that. Like every
Yeah.
fucking blockbuster would like go to a third act sequence in China. Transformers 4 has this problem too.
Mm.
Like the third act is in China for like literally no other reason other than like, these movies are big over there, let's get more money from them, and it worked there.
Mhm.
And then Amazing Spider-Man 2 has like a Chinatown sequence. It's like, it looks great, but it's like, it's just there to be like, oh, see, we're trying it too. And it's like, God, you're just so embarrassing.
Wonder,
You can't even do your
I,
fucking business pivot right.
I wonder how much of that actually matters in China, right? Like, is it just dumb Americans being like, China will want to see a Chinatown sequence? Like,
Yeah, yeah. And then the biggest superhero movie in the last 10 years in like China and Japan is Ant-Man, because I think he
really?
looks like Ultraman.
Oh, you know
Yeah.
what? That makes perfect sense, actually.
Yeah, he gets small and he gets big. It's a simple premise. It's
Yeah, I
sellable,
mean, it's
and everyone likes Paul Rudd.
yeah. I guess there is. You know what? Paul Rudd could have been like an Ultraman type, like, in a different
Yeah, so it
universe.
works.
So, yeah, that makes an odd amount of sense. Now that you pointed that out, I guess that's why they went all in on fucking Quantum Mania or whatever the fuck that movie was called. Um,
Yeah,
didn't
I've
work,
seen
but
people share like scenes and clips from it recently,
uh,
and they're like, say what you will about the movie, but and then I guess like Hank Pym is like a socialist secretly, and he's like, say socialism has a bad reputation, but look at these guys can accomplish. And it's like he's talking about the ants, and I'm like, all right, I like that Michael Keaton got that in there, but I'm not gonna watch that movie.
you mean Michael? You mean Michael Douglas?
Michael Douglas, yes. Fuck, whatever. Who cares? Apologies to the great Michael Douglas and Michael Keaton.
But what was I about to say? Yeah. Yeah, you know what though? I also say we had the big discussion with our Eternals episode about like kind of being ashamed of how much we were both Marvel stans for a little bit. But to
Yeah.
give us some credit, like what the competition was doing at the time was Amazing Spider-Man. Like
Yeah.
part of why I think Marvel got away with it for so long was that everyone around them was doing such a terrible job, right? That
Hmm.
like, and I know people come around to the Snyder-verse, but fucking Man of Steel's a bad movie. And the theatrical cut of Batman vs Superman is a disaster. Like, it's there was not a lot of great competition at the moment. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
And then you've also got like this was talked about after Spider-Man 3 where they're like we're going to do a Venom spin-off. Avi Arad and Matt Tolmach, the producers, everyone's favorites, were like, "Yeah, we're going to do a Venom franchise after." And that doesn't get off the ground obviously. And then for the Amazing Spider-Man spin-off stuff, they start like they use like a brain trust
yeah,
with Alex Kurtzman, Roberto Orsi, Jeff Pinkner, Ed Solomon. Did you know that?
really,
Yeah, and the big one was Drew Goddard, though. He was
yeah,
going to do the Sinister Six movie, and I don't know if there was ever a completed script, but he had like a treatment at least or something like that.
yeah.
Because in those 2014 hacking of Sony's emails
Mhm.
that were also like, I think technically an act of like terror.
No, you know what though? Hold
Because
on. Let's. I don't think they ever proved North Korea did it. Like,
no, I guess that's
and
true. It's
I think it was something where it just because it happened so close to the fucking the whole the interview thing, which I wonder how many people even remember that Seth Rogen almost started a war with North Korea because of his stupid movie, but
mhm.
that was like a big deal when it happened. Remember they like I think it was it Amy Pascal or whatever her name was who was in charge of Sony at the time? Like she got caught like shit talking Obama in emails because
Yeah, well, she
Obama
caught shit talking a lot of
she
people.
shit talked a
She
lot.
seems, yeah, she seems like a character. We'll
Yep.
say.
But she was like an old school type producer. Like she was kind of an interesting character, but yeah, she her emails were insane. Um,
Yeah,
but that was like a whole moment. But I believe that could have just been classic like corporate espionage, like a disgruntled employee might have leaked something, as opposed to North Korea did it. I just think it was
actually, you know what? Here, there was a warning from a group that called themselves the Guardians of Peace,
mm,
and the Sony related Twitter accounts were all like hijacked. And then there was a message from I guess a separate group called God's Apostles, but Apostles is spelled with only an A as the singular vowel in Apostles for some
mm.
reason. I don't know. And I guess they had a ransom out, and then executives ignored it, and then that's when the shit starts going down with like a malware attack,
Okay.
and yeah, so it's much more complicated, and there's a bunch of legal shit that we're not gonna understand,
Mm.
and because we're not smart enough. But while I guess it's not been officially like a 1-to-1 proof to evidence of like it coming from North Korea, it was like it was a cyber attack,
Yes. I just
and
don't want to
it
badmouth
exposed a lot
North
of people's
Korea
like
without
it's more than
evidence.
just emails. It was like an exposure of like people's jobs and stuff like that, and livelihoods,
Oh, you had to
which
get
is
all
not
serious
okay.
with it while I'm making a joke. Thanks, Diego.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, yeah, I feel bad for everyone involved. Yeah,
Well, not everyone. I'm sorry.
yeah.
Because these are the famous David Fincher emails that I think maybe soured our perception of him, and I am speaking our like as in you and I
Yeah,
specifically.
I mean, he definitely came across as a bit of a dick in a lot of those. Um,
Yeah. I mean, look, everyone's like, man, he's stuck in the Netflix wastelands. He wants to be there, by the way.
yeah,
Like, no one feel bad for him. He wants to be there because he can do what he wants. No one else wants him because they don't want to let him do what he wants because what he wants is what Robert Duvall made fun of him for. R.I.P. By the
What did
way.
Robert Duvall? I actually don't know this. What did Robert Duvall say about?
It was like one of those old THR roundtables before they had a budget, so it was just like in an office room.
Mm.
One of the actor roundtables, and Robert Duvall's there with like Ryan Gosling and Jesse Eisenberg and everyone's favorite James Franco at the time. Um, and and then Robert Duvall hears like that Jesse Eisenberg was struggling with the 40,000 takes or whatever.
Mm.
And like Jesse Eisenberg's like downplaying. He's like, no, like, you know what? And I appreciated the push Fincher gave me. Like, he's a genius, whatever. Like, being a real pro. And then Duvall's like, what the fuck? Like, it's like, that's ridiculous. Like, what are you talking about? And he's like, this is the problem with Stanley Kubrick movies too. And it's like, I don't agree with that, but like, it's just, he just kind of went in on like how that methodology, it's more taxing than creative.
Yeah. No, I would agree.
Which he's not wrong about, by
No.
the way. Yeah, like
Yeah, I mean, look, like as much as I think it worked for Stanley Kubrick, it is something where it's like you must have zero respect for your actors if you do it. Like,
mhm.
just not they like you don't believe they can get the take. It's just like, do you know how hard it is for an actor to keep an emotion for that long? Like, even if it's a really simple emotion, right? Like,
Mhm.
yeah, whatever. Fucking Fincher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think people don't like respect. I mean, not that all actors need to be respected, because whatever. But also, like, you're absolutely right. Like carrying that with you, like that is heavy work emotionally. Like
Yeah.
I think if we respected emotions more as a culture, we would maybe have more respect for actors, because what they do isn't easy. Like
Yeah.
let's be real. Like most of us can't do it, for example, and it's emotionally taxing. Like everyone talks about like how good it is to go to therapy now, which is correct.
Mm.
So let's like maybe respect like the emotional process of a performance as well, because that's not an easy thing to carry with you. Like I know everyone hates like method acting and shit and like whatever. There's plenty of asshole method actors, but it's hard business to do. And if you're doing 50 takes of the same scene for an entire day, like you must be drained after that, and
Yeah.
that ain't easy.
Mhm. Why do that to an actor?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I find that very strange. Um,
Yeah.
but
Um,
hey, uh,
Yeah, but you know what? Shout out to Andrew Garfield, who I do think is very good as an actor and is just like grasping at straws a lot of the time. But every once in a while, in those two movies, he does have moments where it's like, there he is, like that's a good part of a performance.
well, you can
It
tell
never comes together, but it's not his fault.
you can always tell he wants to be there, right? Like,
Hmm.
you know what? That was another thing. I talk about like just the teenage. Like they never decided if Peter Parker was a loser or cool in both Amazing Spider-Man movies. That was like a big problem with them.
It was huge. I mean, I had a small grudge against Andrew Garfield for a little bit because how much I disliked the Peter Parker stuff in these movies.
Mm.
And everyone's like, oh, well, he's a great Spider-Man. He's quippy and funny. And it's like, I guess I don't like, there's other problems there. Like, there's a whole there's a stalking subplot in the Amazing Spider-Man 2 where he's following around Gwen Stacy.
Yeah.
And what are you supposed to play with that?
Mhm.
Like performance wise, like that's like a creepy thing that he's doing, which is like it's fine for Peter Parker to be a little fucked up. I'm not saying it can't be, but the movie's not playing it that way,
Mhm.
which makes his performance strange. And then there's moments where he's like he's walking the kid home after getting bullied, and he's just talking to him like, "Oh, I'm Spider-Man, by the way," and it's like that's it right there. That's the shit.
Mhm.
It's like a 5-second moment, but it's like there, you know. So I don't know, strange films. I also no one talks about this. I kind of can't imagine he would have had time to do those Amazing Spider-Man sequels and be in Sinister Six. Because do you know about this?
Hmm.
Like Sinister Six was also going to be like Drew Goddard called it like a summer annual for a Spider-Man story, where
Yeah.
it'd be like, yeah, you don't need to know what else is going on in his own franchise, but he would pop up with like Sandman and I think Electro was gonna be in
Well, it
it,
would have been
and
whoever
uh,
yeah, it was They keep trying to do the Sinister Six movie. Would that be good? Like,
Yeah, I don't. Well, they keep trying to do it to the point where once they rebooted Spider-Man in the MCU, uh, Amy Pascal was like, "Yeah, we still have Drew Goddard attached. Like, we're gonna wait for him." Like, she said they were gonna
yeah,
wait for Drew Goddard
and
to do that movie.
there
Like, they were
are
committed.
there are hints all over the first movie specifically of the Homecoming that's like we're gonna do Sinister Six eventually, right? Like that was like a big
Yeah.
part of what they were doing. Like Scorpion's in it for like 2 seconds, and like he's not Scorpion yet, but like they were clearly putting him in there for that reason, right? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was.
He gets to be Scorpion later this year, so congrats on the 9-year wait. That's how
Oh,
long they've been fucking this shit up,
is
by
he
the
in
way.
Brand New Day?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Everyone have fun with that. Um,
Yeah, I'm glad he's getting a paycheck. Michael Mando's a good actor,
did you
so.
ever read? Yeah, he's a good actor, so good. Get that paycheck. But I was gonna say, did you ever read Superior Foes of Spider-Man, the comic? Like I've heard.
Yes.
So like that's
Yes.
supposed to be good, right?
Oh, dude, it is the Matt Fraction Hawkeye equivalent
Mhm.
of the Sinister Six. Like, it's not quite up there, but I remember when the Amazing Spider-Man franchise was still like this is gonna compete with the Avengers. They're gonna do like Dark Avengers with Sinister Six. That's what they were saying. Like,
Mhm.
we're gonna build up to our villains teaming up, where they're dealing with the heroes teaming up,
Mhm.
and that can be more interesting. And I was like, that's not real, and it wasn't. But I remember doing an article back then about like the Sinister Six movie should be like this comic, where one there's only 5 of them, which is funny because like they're fuck ups, like Boomerang. I think Big Wheel's one of them at
Also,
one point.
it's all the shitty foes. No offense to
Yeah,
Big
I
Wheel.
haven't. Yeah, let me see. I haven't read it in some time, so let me make sure I get the stuff right. But there's like a heist element.
Mm.
A bunch of different villain groups are going after them because they have like Silver Sable's head, and like whoever controls Silver Sable's head controls like crime in New
Mm.
York or something. Yeah, it's Sinister. It's Boomerang. It's Beetle. It's Overdrive. Excuse me.
Okay,
Shocker. Shocker's kind of like he kind of gets the most to do along with Boomerang,
that makes
and
sense.
Speed Demon,
Okay, okay.
and there's a very cute ending where like at that at a bar. I think it's like that villain bar,
Mm.
um where I think it's Boomerang who's kind of like we're litigating the events of the story, and he's talking to another patron, and he's like, yeah, I may have like embellished some of that or whatever, but this is like my recounting of the tale type shit. And then he's like, oh, by the way, thanks for hearing me out. What's your name? And this guy's like, oh, it's Peter. Like, nice to meet you. And it's like, ah,
Okay.
ha, ha. Like it's all very cute and fun and exciting, and like there's like Chameleon tries to steal like a Doctor Doom painting. Like it's all very like
Okay.
exciting
Mhm.
crime comedy
It
material,
sounds like a Matt
and they would never
Fraction
do it as a
story.
movie.
It sounds like a Fraction type story.
Yeah, yeah, that's the vibe a Sinister Six movie should have, because your movie's called Sinister Six, and unless you're in the '60s, people ain't seeing that shit,
Yeah.
and you're not gonna get a fun campy vibe with that. And if you make it too serious, and your movie's called Sinister Six, you're gonna look a little goofy anyways.
Mhm.
So do the comedic thing; it'll work here. Um, they should do that comic. Also, because it's just hysterical that there's only 5 of them, and they're the Sinister Six still. I
Mhm.
don't know. That always
That
got
is
a big kick out of
that
me.
is funny. I was gonna say though, but like, yeah, that sounds good, but it's also definitely not what they would ever produce as a movie, right? Like, it's the Sinister
Yeah.
Six has to be the Sinister Six, and they kept trying. It's that weird thing they kept trying to do with Venom, and I know, like, we'll get into it. I know people have some defenses of Venom, but like, it's a dumb idea to try to do a Venom spinoff. Like, it was just not. I don't know. Like they sacrificed a great franchise to get all these spin-offs going, right? And it's
Hmm.
probably the perfect example of why capitalism sucks. Of just being like, I bet you
Yeah.
in a way, a lot of like these decisions were the more profitable decisions to some degree. I'm talking about like maybe if you kept it to just Spider-Man, Venom, maybe the Sinister Six, like keep it simple, stupid type stuff. Because you can sell more toys, you can sell more tickets, you can sell that, but you're sacrificing the core of the actual franchise to get that made, right? And
Mm-hmm.
like it's a good example of they just part of the reason why Venom is in Spider-Man 3 is because they knew that would boost toy sales, right? Which it definitely
Yeah, that
did.
was the big discussion.
Yeah.
Sam Raimi didn't want that.
Yeah.
He didn't care about that character.
Which it definitely did. Like, I will say, like, it definitely probably sold more toys. And Spider-Man 3, I think, made the most of that trilogy at the box office, too, which I don't think people discuss as much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, like, from a business perspective, it made sense, but it also, like, totally fucking kneecapped their own movie and franchise. So it's short-term gain for long-term profits. But how do you tell a board, like, well, we're not gonna do that, right? Like, how you gonna tell a board, like, well, we're
Mm-hmm.
not gonna chase the profits like you want us to? So, again, it's like once all these superhero movies started taking off, Sony is sitting on a ton of characters. How could they not tell their board that they were going to make these movies, right? How could they not say we're going to compete with Marvel, you know?
Yeah.
And it's obviously it was a bad idea, but you can't tell a board of directors that, you know? Like remember they
Yeah, I
were
mean, the mere fact that Amazing Spider-Man comes out 2 years after the cancellation of Spider-Man 4, one, that means they were gearing that shit up just in case, anyways. Like,
yeah.
you don't. I mean, or maybe you know what, they genuinely could have had like a 2.5 year turnaround on that project because like the writing's not very good. Like
Yeah.
you can argue that that's probably a big problem, and then especially Amazing Spider-Man 2, which feels like you know how some writers put like note cards on a wall to figure out the plot elements of their movies, which is like a perfectly acceptable way to go about like starting a
Yeah,
project.
that's good
The
for
movie feels like they
starting.
just stuck to the note
But you
cards,
can't hand in
right?
your bulletin board as your script. Like you can't go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and that's what that movie totally feels like.
yeah.
Like
And
the turnaround on them is just it's just what all these movies do now,
mhm.
and it's never proven to work. I think the one time it worked for most people. I know you and I aren't like super hot in the movie anymore, but like the first Iron Man,
Mhm.
people are still like, "Oh, that's one of the best ones," you know. And it's like it's not, but people feel that way, and and whatever. I like it fine. It's just like, come on, guys, get it together. Fucking Captain America's right there, but I don't know. All these movies do that. I wanted to run down some quick other movies that got canceled in the aftermath of the Amazing Spider-Man 2 failing,
Mhm.
which did technically kind of make money, but like the budget was so big and it had like a $200 million marketing campaign. So like,
And I think
unless that made $1 billion, it was not
yeah, I
successful.
think it's the lowest grossing Spider-Man movie as well. Except I think, unfortunately, I think Across the Spider-Verse might have underperformed compared to it worldwide. I think that's the one that dipped below it a little bit. Um,
Oh,
but
but that is okay because those movies are also significantly less expensive than
yeah,
the live actions. I don't know how that works. Animation is a miracle,
yeah.
especially that movie. But like in terms of performance, even compared to Into the Spider Verse, like it like doubled or even like tripled the box office, right?
Okay,
Like
I have no idea. I thought that one kind of like underperformed, but like it's hard to go to a board and be like, it's the lowest grossing, right? Like I think that like that hurt Amazing Spider-Man 2 where it's like yes, technically it did okay at the box office, but it's also the lowest grossing of the franchise of a franchise that was one of our that we were touting as going to be like the pillar that was going to hold up all these other movies, right? Like it's one thing,
mm-hmm.
imagine if you went to imagine if Avengers had been the lowest grossing Marvel movie. Like
Yeah, that's a problem.
that
You
would
don't get all this.
yeah, like it would have been a really bad sign for things to come. And so to be like, yeah, okay, Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man underperformed. Whatever, we can bounce back. That you can't really say that when you have seven other movies relying on it at the time. And it's like, wait, are they all going to gross less than this? Right? Like,
Yeah.
I can understand why people might have gotten freaked out. The only one I know of that got canceled kind of in the middle of it was Silver and Black, the Gina Prince Bythewood movie that was going to star Silver, Sable, and Black Cat. Um,
Yeah, and like just I don't care about that idea, but like she's a good director,
Yeah,
and then like I think you and I are defenders of the Old Guard movie she did.
I don't know why we're
Um,
defenders of it. It's a good movie to anyone with fucking eyeballs, but hey,
yeah,
uh,
yeah, it's a very good action movie,
mm.
and like I'm glad she got to do that at least, and I liked I forget the name of her follow up movie, but I thought that was very
The
good
Woman
and
King.
underappreciated.
She's a Woman King
The
after
Woman
that.
King,
Yeah,
yeah,
no, she's good. Where she also
yeah,
like
good.
one thing that was cool about her is that the Old Guard was a hit, and they were like, "We'll do another one." She was like, "No, I'll go do something else." Like which I really appreciate
Yeah.
that
So
she
like
wants to
if they
try.
had let her make
Mhm.
if they'd let her make Silver Sable and Black Cat, like I would have been into that. But like just the way they make these movies, she would have gotten like fucked over on that
Yeah,
probably.
I
So
mean, well, also when you think about like fucking like Kraven the Hunter happens in the middle of all this, right? Like,
hmm
and who directed Kraven the Hunter again? It's what's his name?
oh yeah. Fuck, what is his name?
I mean, sorry,
He's a good filmmaker.
J.C.
He's a
Shandor,
good
who did
filmmaker.
fucking Most Violent Year and Margin Call, like, who is another one where like
Yeah.
him doing Kraven the Hunter was like, okay, maybe, and even that was like, no, right? Like, it was just kind of
hmm
like, no, that's not happening. Like, it's just not a good
Yeah.
idea. And yeah, I mean, it's just the way they make these movies just isn't. Just also, no offense, who the fuck knows who Silver Sable is?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Black Cat kinda, but also Black Cat is someone you can easily confuse her with Catwoman, right? But
hmm
in terms of like
Which
selling
maybe
these,
could have helped that marketing,
yeah,
frankly.
it's
But yeah.
it's so weird. One of the weirdest things about this whole Fallout is that like they still had movies that were deep enough into production that they couldn't stop, and then they just kept trying. So it's like the ones that got made are Venom, which that makes sense, right? Venom is something you can put on. People know who Venom is, right? You can at least
hmm
say that. And then it's like, okay, what were the other ones? And it's like Morbius, Kraven the Hunter, and Madam Web. And it's like those are fucking deep cuts for Spider-Man fans, really. Like,
Yeah.
let alone who in their right mind thought those were the ones that would appeal to a general audience, right? And I think part of it was that they had everyone saved for the Sinister Six movie that never happened, right? Like,
And I don't know if people know this, but apart from like the legal rights issues, like Kingpin can't be in movies right now because he's in the TV shows. I don't know if people know that.
mm,
That's why Kingpin will not show up in the Spider-Man movies for whatever reasons until they figure that out. Until enough money pushes this problem away, Kingpin will not be in a
so it's
Spider-Man
like a
movie.
leak. So like they
And
would probably have to share the profits if Kingpin appeared in the movie. I'm guessing is the issue.
yeah, yeah, I'm not exactly sure, but there's that. And then the characters that show up in the MCU that are Spider-Man related cannot be in the Sony movies and vice versa.
Mm.
So every time a Spider-Man villain was announced to have their own movie, nerds were like, "No," because then that means you can't use them for Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
Mm.
You know?
Well, yeah,
Which I think was an exciting prospect when he started too. It was like, man, he's gonna get his own Green Goblin and stuff like that. It's like, no, we're just gonna use them again, which is a separate problem, but
that makes
it's just
perfect
funny
sense.
that
That
they worked out that way.
that explains No Way Home so much more now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of just being like we're just walling off these characters so they can't be used in other movies. Like that's really like that makes so much sense now.
Yeah.
From
Well,
the
I mean, there's like a Cold War going on between like Kevin Feige and Amy Pascal.
yeah.
I think it was like the press for Far From Home, the Europe one,
Mm.
where after the success of Venom, she was like, yeah, and then we're gonna have them meet in a future film, and then you can see Kevin Feige's reaction where he doesn't say anything, but he physically like jolts and he makes like a face like he almost double takes the ground so he doesn't give the game away too much. But he's like, oh shit, I have to deal with this now.
That's
Like, I am not letting this happen.
in terms of personality, Kevin Feige and Amy Pascal are like oil and water, man. Like that's just like the worst combination of two types of producers, right? I'd rather see them team up than Silver Sable and Black Cat. Like,
Yeah.
that would
No,
be
there's totally a fucking movie you could make about that
yeah,
dynamic.
that would be my pitch if I was in Marvel right now, and I would get shot. But it would that yeah, that sounds like that's wild to me. But yeah, I mean, it's just
But you know
go ahead, go ahead.
here you go. The Silver Sable Black Cat movie is not the craziest one. This was real, by
Mm.
the way. What I'm about to say. Um, there was an attempt at making like an Agents of Shield style period piece movie about Aunt May, where she was a spy
Yeah,
during the Cold War.
yeah, I remember. I actually do remember that because I mean that's the other element people don't remember of the that like the Amazing Spider-Man movies have this stupid fucking mystery plot going on, right? Of
Yeah, which affects nothing in the
yeah.
present day. So it
So
was just like a waste of screen time for everyone.
also like isn't Peter Parker's parents being spies is in the comics, right?
Yeah, that's in like one iteration at
It's
least, and I never liked
well,
it.
it's also one of those weird stories where I think the story is actually liked by people. I've never read it, but if I remember correctly, it's told in like the Untold Tales of Spider-Man, and that was it was like right around the time of the Clone Saga, and that's just a real like fuck it era of Spider-Man, and we people just stopped giving a shit. They just started throwing everything at the wall, right? And
Hmm.
so I think that's where that comes from. But I can imagine Sony being desperate, being like, "Yeah, let's do that. Let's why not? It's in the comics, right? These nerds will buy anything." Which just seemed like it was the attitude for a little bit. They just assumed people buy. What is the all right? What is the Kurtzman Orsi of it all? Like,
They were notorious for just kind of taking every big budget like writing and rewriting job possible.
yeah,
So like quietly they killed cinema. No, 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 no. I don't want to say that about at least one of them. The other one I will happily blame for a lot of problems in the world.
mhm,
But yeah, they would take everything. Like they did the first two Transformers,
mhm.
right? They did Star Trek '09, Star Trek Into Darkness, which was such a mess. Damon Lindelof had to come in and be like, I don't know what to do with this, and then that was still a mess. And they're just they kind of become like these corporate screenwriting hitmen in a
Yeah,
way. You know, they're sort of like the dyad in the Force to Tony Gilroy, who also is like kind of an industry cleaner. You know,
yeah.
he's like he'll come in and be like, yeah, here's the problem with the script here, 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 and here, and here's how to fix it. Yeah, here's the problem with Rogue One. I mean, what? And then and like he'll you know he will save projects for the most part with to the best of his abilities. And these guys, it wasn't so much about saving projects as much as getting them on time and on budget,
Mhm.
which is like a feat. I don't want to downplay that. That is an ability
Yeah,
like that a lot of people just don't have in the industry. Now, their work speaks for itself
yeah.
to the point where they don't do those jobs anymore.
Mhm. Well,
Um,
one of them doesn't do that job
and
for a reason.
yeah, one of them is well, one of them is dead. So, but the other
Thanks,
one is
thanks for
just
the
in charge of
tact.
Star
There you
Trek
go.
right
Thanks
now.
for the tact in dropping that line. You know, that was showing some respect.
Yeah.
Um, of a man who I guess was just a very complicated person. Let's just say that, and we'll stop there in terms of personal life.
Hmm.
But
Yeah, and then Alexander Hillary Kurtzman is just in charge of Star Trek now, which
for about 5 more minutes, I'm gonna guess.
yeah, I don't know what's going on there,
Yeah.
but people don't watch those shows,
Mm.
so uh, apologies to Star Trek. I love Star Trek. I don't know what's going on there,
Yeah,
but
we're not in a world where Star Trek can be good. Like, it doesn't matter if you get a good regime change over there. Like, it's just
yeah.
it's where we're at. But I was gonna say, um, part of being in my opinion, being like one of these fixers and cleaners is that if you're gonna rush something, you're gonna fall back on, you know, your personal taste and ideas, right? That you're just gonna, we all have an idea of like what makes just a good functioning story, right? Now we don't all agree
Hmm.
on that, but we have ideas being like, you know what, this is cool and this reflects what I like about art. And I think someone like Tony Gilroy is someone where when he has to do those fix-up jobs, what he falls back on tends to be more interesting than what Kurtzman and Orsi fall back on, frankly, right? Like when they were boxed into a corner, where they went with it was just their instincts are just bad for that type of work, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and let's say like this is out there, but everyone knows Orsi was like a 9/11 truther, right? That was a big thing. And whatever someone's personal politics is, I don't think you're a smart screenwriter if you're a 9/11 truther. No offense to the man, but like, is that an interesting plot to you? Like, let's pretend 9/11 is a fictional event, and we're watching a movie, and we're watching a movie based on 9/11, and we get to the third act, and it goes like, it turns out it was an inside job by the government to invade Iraq, and here's how they did it, right? Is that
Mm-hmm.
interesting to you?
Not as a premise, because like, look, like, not to get down another rabbit hole, but like, like I was a big fan of the show 24, which I've talked about as like a conservative nightmare, but fucking awesome television, unfortunately, for the most part. And they would have like fucking wackadoodle conspiracy shit like that all the time. Those stories always end with Jack Bauer like shooting people a lot, and it's awesome. But it's not like heady. It's not like an idea based show. It's like Jack Bauer's gonna save America every week,
It's an excuse for Jack
and
Bauer to
that's
be
not.
the hero. That's what that show is. Like I mean, we talk
Yeah,
about the conservative propaganda. It's literally an excuse. They find the perfect plot to justify Jack Bauer torturing someone. Like that's really
yeah,
what that show is. No offense to again, like bad politics can still be entertaining television. Like I'm never going to disagree
yeah.
with
I mean, I
that.
fucking love like Reacher and shit. Like,
Yeah,
Man with a Gun movies are like they're my cigarettes,
yeah,
like.
yeah,
But yeah, to your point, like there's not a lot of directions to go with that, and like let's take that to a logical conclusion with something like Star Trek Into
yeah.
Darkness. It also ends with them just hitting the bad guy,
Hmm.
who was also revealed to be the victim. So it's weird that that is how that movie wraps up, just in hindsight, along with a lot of stuff in that movie. But like, let's say, like, how would you end that in a way that's better? Like, take that movie as is. You have 3 months to reshoot an ending to make that movie work better. Like, for a conspiracy angle, something like, let's say something more like The Insider, which is based on stuff that actually happened. Like some of that movie actually happened in real life. It's about a real event, real people, and all that jazz, right? I'm not saying Star Trek needs to be like The Insider, but just because we're getting conspiracy brained a little bit, right? Like a big conspiracy story, like you usually do like a big reveal, like the I was gonna say the files are released. I'm sorry.
Oh, oh
Well,
dear.
I'm sorry. No, not talking about that. But like now we know that sort of storytelling,
All right.
it doesn't really
You're
work.
you're in a hole. You're in a hole, Diego. Actually, you know what? There was
Okay,
a
well here.
I'll say this. There in recent years there has been, even kind of before the Epstein stuff really took off, there's been an increase of movies that are so centered on once the information gets out, that'll save the day, right? That
Yeah.
there's been a like once the truth gets exposed, I think that was partly like a subconscious QAnon type shit of just being like that's what all those Q people think is going to happen, that once the right guy shows the files, everything else. But that's like Neil Breen too, right? But
Mm-hmm.
even then, to me, that is more engaging to me than a like 9/11. Like 'cause the other big conspiracy that hangs over culture is the JFK assassination, right? And which we've talked about on this show. And just but think of how much great movies came from being riffs on the JFK assassination, you know? Like I mean
Mm-hmm.
Blowout is 100% a about the JFK assassination, you know? And I think people had a better understanding of what those type of thrillers really meant. And then again, they have to do like the 9/11 thing. It's not conducive to a good plot, honestly. Because like what what happens, right? In terms of like a narrative, of just like use thermite
Like
paint, like
maybe,
what the fuck?
well, like okay, maybe a good example of this stuff, and they kind of become about this in the second and third movie more, but like the Bourne movies are totally a response to like 9/11 espionage and stuff, right?
Yes.
And it's the rare, we've talked about it before, but like it's the rare franchise, especially at the time, that wasn't about like going to the Middle East to kill people of color.
Yeah.
It was like the U.S. government has this black ops organization that's brainwashing people into assassins and making them commit war crimes, and we're gonna stop it now
Yeah.
because
Well,
it is an inside job.
it's literally about blowback, which is what the war on terror really is in a lot of ways. Like it's blowback against really terrible foreign policy, right? And
Hmm.
something like Star Trek Into Darkness, if you look at it through that lens, which is what that movie is trying to be, right? It is trying to be about blowback, because that it's like part of why, even though it's not narratively satisfying in any way, but part of the reason why Khan is the final villain of that and gets a hold of this fucking doomsday spaceship or whatever the fuck was going on in that movie. Um, Part of the reason that was happening is to be like, see, now the terrorists could get a hold of the weapon, right? That's really
Yeah,
it's
and that's stupid and the wrong approach. But it's also like a byproduct of like, well, the big blockbuster needs to be big at the end.
yes, no,
So you have to have the bigger ship, you have to have the big explosion, and that sort of story isn't conducive to that sort
I guess.
of blockbuster
But
structure.
here's what I'm saying. Let's just look. I'm not trying to say like we're great writers or anything like that. But let's say we end up in the room, right, where they're like, "Shit's fucked up. We got to do a turnaround on this script. You have 6 months to write a screenplay." And we're like, "Fuck." And it's like, "Oh, and here's the sets they're already built." And then that cowboy from Ed Wood comes in and goes, "I wanted to end with a huge explosion." And so like that's like so we got all these like so we I would argue we would come up with a more interesting, I'm not saying we write something good, but we come up with something more interesting. And I think it's just because of where our tastes lie, right? It has nothing to do with our skills.
Hmm.
It's like if a gun to our head, put under pressure, what we're going to do instinctually, that we're just like, oh, we got to rush this out. Our rush job, I think, would just be more interesting because of where our biases lie in terms of art. Does that make sense to you? Like,
Yes,
a-
no, 100%.
and so what I'm saying with someone like Orsi and Kurtzman is that where their biases lie are not interesting, and then they also turn in bad screenplays, right? So they have all these constraints put on them, but when you put those constraints on them and what they do with those constraints are bad in and of themselves, because they a lot of their work, especially Orsi, is once you knew that guy was an Unlimited Truther, it suddenly explained so much of their work, right? Like, didn't they write Eagle Eye as well? Like,
Oh, did
I
they?
believe
Wait, hold
they
on.
either
That might explain a
they
lot.
either wrote it or produced it. I could be wrong. Um, they are producers on Eagle Eye. That was like kind of their like,
That makes a lot of
yeah.
sense.
And I mean, and look at like I mean, the look, this is their credits before Star Trek. It's like the Island. Legend of Zorro is kind of like the one awkward one, but that might have been like a rush. That might have been like a true like just get something out there. And Mission Impossible 3 and Transformers, which all have like a shitty conspiracy element to them, right? Like
Hmm.
they all have this shitty. Even Transformers, like the whole one of the biggest problems with that movie is that there is a conspiracy plot in Transformers that literally goes nowhere. Like, what do Anthony Anderson?
Well,
What does he
it
contribute?
takes you to who the fuck is it? It's not Stanley Tucci. It takes you to John Turturro getting peed on by Bumblebee.
Yeah, well, no, look, that's actually the better part of it.
Yeah, no, yeah,
there,
absolutely. I wasn't making a joke.
there is a plot in Transformers with Anthony Anderson and that woman that if you took them,
Don't talk to me.
yeah,
Don't talk to me, criminal.
if you take them out of the movie, though, it doesn't change the movie at all. All our characters still end up
Yeah,
in the
no.
exact same place. And so, for whatever reason, that was in there basically. And when it was like, we need this glue to kind of stick some stuff together, they went to a conspiracy plot that sucked, right? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, great movie though.
no,
Yeah, that first Transformers rules. I'm
no,
sorry.
no. Everyone
Um,
die. Everyone get run over by trucks from those movies. It's those movies are so shit. I'm sorry. Look, I've been going back down a rabbit hole of watching like old fucking like Gundam shows and robots, like kind of just trying to remind myself why I like this shit. And none of it is in the Transformers movies. Those movies are dog shit. We're not reclaiming them. Maybe I will come around on the last night by being just insane, but beyond that, no. Everyone go to hell with those Transformers
well,
movies.
the point is, because I want to mention some other touchstones. In Into Darkness, Kurtzy and Ortsy and Kurtzman have this element where like Khan's blood is magic healing shit, right? It saves Kirk's life,
Mm.
right? And the Tribble's life. I like that Tribbles are in the movie. There's the obviously the 9/11 imagery. In the opening of The Amazing Spider-Man 2, everyone who tries to reclaim The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is like, oh, but the opening's so great, Spider-Man swinging through the city. Yeah, that stuff is actually pretty cool, and the web swinging is really cool, and I like the effect of like the ripples on the suit. The suit looks great. That's not the opening to the movie. Everyone forgets this. Do you remember the opening to that movie? It's fucking bullshit.
All right, they blend together. One of them is his family, his parents getting into a fight on an airplane, right?
That's Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Okay.
Which it's funny that you mentioned that. I forgot the first one opens like that too, with the parents leaving him.
Yeah.
So you're effectively told the same information with a little bit more that doesn't actually change anything in the present. So worthless fucking movies. Yeah, it ends with the parents trying to escape on a plane. I don't know why they don't take their son with them if they're trying to escape a mysterious organization with Oscorp chasing after them. Like, wouldn't they just go after Peter then? They know who the people are if they're chasing them.
Again,
Whatever.
yeah, again,
Yeah.
Kurtzman Orsi,
So stupid.
when they go with their instincts, their conspiracy is like painting over graffiti almost. Like it's just like there to just be functionary, right? They don't really think. Same with
Yeah,
magic.
there and to get imagery in.
Yeah, and same with Magic Blood, right? Like Magic Blood is one of those things where it's such a cheat code for a plot, right? Of just being like, because it can do anything at that point, right? Like, you just go
Mm.
like, oh, if you just get the blood from the one guy, now we can fucking, fly, right? Like if your script
Yeah,
needs someone to
it's
fly, you just do that.
yeah. So the Amazing Spider-Man 2 has the conspiracy angle. It that opening scene ends with a plane falling out of the sky. Hello. And then the magic blood shit that comes into play. People have criticized it rightfully, being like, well, now Spider-Man's like special. Like it's just Peter Parker that could have been Spider-Man, which is not the point of the spider bite, obviously, right? It's supposed to be like, it's a miracle that he got bit,
Yeah.
and it's a miracle that he's like a good person. Great power, great responsibility. That's the whole thing. Like you can't preordain that, and that movie makes it preordained, which then fucking kneecaps their franchise shit. Because then you can't just like, now everything has to have like this preordained, predestined element to it for the other characters. Like the other villains.
And again, like we talk about this, a chosen one narrative, a preordained narrative is a narrative cheat code in a way, right? Because then it's like, well, now why is the movie about this guy? Well, because he was the chosen one, right? Like, and that's Transformers as well. Like the stupid
Oh yeah,
fucking glasses
the Witwicky
shit.
glasses
Yeah,
stuff.
and then they do it again in 2 when he starts like seeing the visions, right? Like it's literally
Oh, and
like,
he goes to robot heaven. That's hilarious.
yeah, but literally like think about it. It's a, why is this person the main character of our story? And it's because the story says so. That's what the chosen one narrative really is, right? And
Mm-hmm.
J.J. Abrams, for all his faults, at least had instincts to be like, I'm not going to tell you why it's about this person. Like that, I'm going
Yeah.
to keep the secret later, and just it'll
And
get you on board. And he always fucks up when he tries to answer it. But I mean, fuck, even that Star Trek '09, like the time travel plot in that is that Kirk is preordained to be a hero.
Yeah, and like I would argue it works best in Star Trek
It
'09 because
works,
JJ's directing the absolute shit out of
and
it. It's his best
there's
movie,
there's
arguably.
also a cute little moment at the end where Spock is like, "Yeah, I was just bullshitting him. Like, I just knew we needed him to do the thing so he would stop the bad guy." Like,
Yeah, you know, so it kind of has its cake and it eats it
yeah,
too, and yeah, it works best there. And then, you know what? It probably works best in Force Awakens because again, it doesn't need to be answered right away,
yeah,
and then he fucks it up. And that's a guy who also maybe doesn't have great writer instincts,
yeah.
but once he's in like the director's chair, it's like, all right, that's why you get this guy.
Mm.
And thankfully, he's not writing everything he ever does, so
Yeah.
you
Well,
know
no, I mean, look,
that
Abrams
helps.
does have good instincts in certain moments, right? Like, I
Hmm.
really, honestly, everyone read up on Force Awakens and especially look into what was cut because that really explains where his instincts go at times. But then when you pressure him a little bit and he has to cut some things, it usually makes his story a little bit better. Like, because
Hmm.
Harrison Ford getting injured was probably the best thing that happened on that movie because they had to change some stuff up. And he made the right decisions on Force Awakens, frankly. Like, he knew what to cut
I
and what
think
to
most
move.
of them.
What would you say he didn't do correct? Yeah, I'm just curious. I have
I
no.
think I just think like the strength of something like Star Trek '09 is that J.J. Abrams knows how to cut for pacing. That movie is one of the best paced movies like ever,
Mm.
probably. Like I'm not I don't feel like I'm exaggerating here. I feel like that movie fucking breezes by for a 2 hour blockbuster. Like it's unbelievable by the time you're halfway through the movie, you're like, oh shit, we're already here. Like it gets me every time. I can't believe how well paced that movie is. And I think Force Awakens, it needs to not be paced that way a lot of the time. And I love that movie still. This is just one of my smaller criticisms of the movie that pop up now. But you need a little more explanation of where the world is at that you need to kind of fill in the second act of that movie, and they kind of don't do that.
I'm not.
And it works for like a reintroduction of Leia because when she does pop up in the movie, it's like whew, like the weight of the world between her and Han in that scene is like it's you can cut that shit
Yeah.
with a knife. But I also don't understand the state of the world, which is why Last Jedi is incredible and immediately answers all the questions I have in the opening crawl, and I can just enjoy the rest of
Well,
the
that
movie
that to
without
me
thinking about any of
is
that.
I disagree. I don't think JJ would have handled those elements correctly. I think he was smart to be like, this. I shouldn't make the movie about this because I will not do a good job with it. Maybe that wasn't why he did it, but I
Mm,
don't think if JJ was to set up the state of the Star Wars universe, I bet you it would have been very boring. If I'm being perfectly honest, like to keep it.
you might be right in hindsight, but I do think that's a
No,
hindsight
no,
thing,
I,
not
I,
a
I would argue
yeah.
that I would have known. I knew that going in Force Awakens,
No.
only because of Star Trek Into Darkness. I think Into Darkness is a good example of once he has to actually live in the universe, he doesn't know what to do with it. Like
Yeah.
he can only think of a status quo that has to be reestablished by the end of the story, right? And I think
Hmm.
part of what was freeing about Force Awakens for him was that being like, well, I'm not going to finish this, so I don't have to worry about that stuff. And he made it character focused. And I think that's the strength of Force Awakens in a way, that it is specifically character driven. I think the wanting to know what's going on in the Star Wars universe is such a nerd question that if it was done right, I would have liked it, but I didn't. It was not something I really needed. And I think there's actually really smart moments. One of the better subtle moments in it, which I don't know if it was an Oscar Isaac's choice or an Abrams choice, but when Oscar Isaacs is kidnapped early on and he's brought aboard the ship, you can just see in his acting his shock, and it's a good moment of being like, oh, he in that moment he's like, these guys are more equipped than we realized, which I think is a good little moment to just be like, yes, it gives you a hint at what the world is at without bogging the story down, right? It's
Yeah, I always like that moment too.
I don't know. I think Abrams did a really fantastic job with Force Awakens. And yeah, I don't know. I just think it's then when he has to deliver on the actual world, he doesn't know what to do. Because I think he just can't
Hmm.
marry the world with his characters very well, right? Um, so I
Yeah,
think that
yeah.
requires a certain level of political thinking and philosophical thinking that he's just not great at, he
Hmm.
it's just not his strong suit. And then I think that's why he fell back on guys like Kurtzman and Orsi, and they just had really dumb views of politics and philosophy, if I'm being perfect. I don't know what Kurtzman's deal is though. Like it's hard to tell when you look at what's going on with Star Trek right now, which should be more overtly political, it feels like. But um,
Yeah. I think having watched Alias all the way through, and I love most of that show.
mm,
The first two seasons are genuinely like some of the best action
yeah,
television ever, and then season 3 sucks, and then season 4 and 5 are pretty good. But like there's their hangups, the Kurtzman and Orchie hangups are all there, and I thought it was interesting that you mentioned like which I agree with that Abrams like can't live in the worlds he creates.
mm,
That exact problem happens in Alias, where it's like, okay, like it happens after he leaves though, which I find interesting. Where season 3 is just a bunch of shit happening, and you have no idea like where we are in terms of the character relationships and their relationships to the world of the spy game that they're in
yeah,
now. And there was a fun dynamic in the first two seasons of Alias where it's like she has the spy life and she has her real life. And the real life stuff stops being relevant after season 2, which is a big problem that the characters get lost in the shuffle, right? It just becomes all spy shit.
hmm,
And you realize that's not that interesting because what the like we're talking about their interests as writers are not compelling by
yeah,
themselves. It's when they're like guided by the hands of a JJ or a Drew Goddard who pops in season 4, which makes that show so much fucking better. That like you get people who are interested in the elements of these genres and these characters that really let them flourish. Like I just want to shout out Drew Goddard did an episode where like Jennifer Garner and her love interest in the show have to go undercover, and they've been in a weird spot in their relationship,
mm,
and they have to go undercover in like this community that's like a front for this other spy organization from Russia, and the spies are like their relationship and the action in the episode, it's all like juxtaposed with each other. Like it feeds into each other. Like they don't know how to like hang out with other people like on a date, for example. So they get into a shootout with a rival spy team in the fake town.
mm,
And it's like it's so funny and clever and it's exciting and it's like new territory for these characters, but it's still like feeding into their relationship,
mm,
and then their relationship's like in a better place by the end of the episode because now they know how to handle like
yeah.
this sort of like fake dynamics against their real dynamics. And it was like, man, the show is like never that good ever again, but that episode is awesome. And naturally Drew Goddard was behind it, and all I'm saying is it totally makes sense that that dude could have nailed a superhero movie. Kind of sucks that he never got it. He's talked about being very slow and only works on one project at a time. And he's openly said his agent hates him, which I respect.
Hey,
But yeah, so I always kind of mourn his Sinister Six. But
well,
oh well, what are you gonna
I was
do?
gonna bring back the Kurtzman for me because looking at his filmography, it is a lot of like. I was thinking, what's his deal? And it is conspiracy stuff. It is like conspiracy thrillers. Maybe not to the extent that Orsi brought to it, right? But like you got, like that's that's what all of his Star Trek stuff has really been, right? Like they've all had like conspiracy mystery plots grafted onto them, right?
Hmm.
It's really, and I have not seen Starfleet Academy, um, but I'm willing to bet there's probably a conspiracy element to that show as well. That I bet you there's like something sinister is going on under the surface of Starfleet Academy.
And then there's a supervillain with a super weapon
Yeah,
who wants revenge for something that the Federation wronged him for.
yeah,
And I know this for a fact because there was a scene of Paul Giamatti's character entering the show where he monologues about that very thing.
yeah.
So, God bless Paul Giamatti,
I
but
I
man, what a
I give
bummer.
Paul Giamatti a lot of credit of getting another Oscar nomination and then not changing a thing about his career.
Yeah,
Being like, fuck it.
yeah, that rules.
The Rhino himself didn't change a fucking
Yes,
thing.
of course. Which is my favorite part of the Amazing Spider-Man
No,
2.
again,
Because it's like, at least it's like zany and it like bookends the Spider-Man stuff. You open and close with the character, and there's like a physical difference in their appearance. He becomes the Rhino from the comics
yeah,
at the end, just with a stupid Transformer suit. And it's like, all right, that is a fun
yeah.
idea.
And also, it's just like, what the fuck? I mean, everyone's dumb. I never actually got to the point where I when I actually saw Amazing Spider-Man, um, I remember hating it initially. Like my friend uh, Emily, who is a regular listener to this podcast,
Hi, Emily.
she shares fairly regularly because I guess whatever, like that thing on your phone that shares old memories and stuff like that. The text message I
Oh.
sent to her after I saw it, she was like, "So you didn't like it?" And I was like, "It was terrible." And she said, "What was wrong with it?" And I just wrote in all caps everything. So she'll share that with me like once a year usually. Yeah, I just remember walking out of the theater and I walked across the street to fucking Chili's. Because I think my father was drinking there, and I just sat there and was like, "That movie fucking sucked. I fucking hated it." And going up, and it kind of got an okay reception at the time, if I remember correctly. Like there wasn't a like disdain for it the way I had it, at least.
No, I mean the first one was straight up like, I would say, well received. Like people were like, "Oh right, it's better than Spider-Man 3." And then the second one, I remember like the test screening reports were like excellent for it. I remember that's when test screenings started being known
Mm,
for like 'cause, before like a certain period of time, people didn't give a shit about test screenings and stuff like that, like outside of the industry. But now people report on that
mm.
like every day if they can. And Amazing Spider-Man 2 was like the first one that was like, oh man, this is scoring the best out of all the Spider-Man movies. Like they might have a real winner on their hands. And then they're talking about, we're doing Amazing Spider-Man 3 in 2 years, Amazing Spider-Man 4 in 4 years. Sinister Six, we're doing that Venom movie again.
Mm.
And then it's like the only thing that happens is the Venom movie with Tom Hardy somehow. Which also, just in hindsight, is crazy that Tom Hardy was like, "This is my shit. That's my franchise. I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna shepherd it. Like I'm not just gonna star
Yeah.
in it. I'm gonna produce all of them, and even write them."
I think he had an understanding that maybe I'm not going to say he was necessarily passionate about Venom, right? Like I'm not going to be here and be like, you know what? He seemed maybe he really loved the character. I'm gonna guess he just understood he needed a franchise, right? Like I think he understood he needed a franchise. Venom as a character does fit him in an odd way, right? Maybe because Venom is such a blank canvas, right? That the character's not that
Hmm.
complicated, so he kind of just do his weird thing with it. And he's like, once the first one hit, against all odds, frankly, because that those trailers were terrible. I think he understood like this is my thing. I think Channing Tatum tried to do that with Gambit, right? Like, I
Yeah.
think he was like, I get that Gambit is going to be my ticket to do all this other stuff, and then that just didn't happen, you know. Um,
Hmm.
and I bet you that's also
And can I be honest? I
mm,
I don't understand why it didn't happen.
no. I'm
And then I found out the movie was going to be budgeted at like over 150 million dollars.
mm,
Like, and then that explained
there was just too
everything.
many
Because
eyes on it. You
sorry,
think like
yeah, because like Gore Verbinski was attached to it at one point, and like I don't give a shit about Gambit. But when I heard that, I was like, okay, like let's go. Um, I hope his next movie is not awful, and uh, and then and then it does that movie doesn't happen. But yeah, for Venom, like I remember thinking that trailers for the first one fucking sucked, and then I saw the movie and it sucked. But I was like, that scene where he jumps in the lobster tank and eats the lobster is pretty funny. And then the second movie, that vibe is like all the way through, and I'm like, okay, maybe that's a bit much, but I do like this now.
well, I was gonna
And yeah, yeah,
I
go
was
ahead.
gonna say like I think part of the reason was Venom is one of the maybe only Spider-Man characters that you really could build a movie around. You know what I'm saying? Like it's something that kids know who
Hmm.
Venom is, right? Like before Venom even came
Yeah,
out, they knew who Venom was, and maybe also like Amazing Spider-Man 3. I mean, not Amazing Spider-Man 3 had seeded the ground a little bit to like get people being like, "Oh, Venom is a thing that could happen." and whereas as opposed to some of the other characters they tried to build spin-offs around. And yeah, and then it just turns into that thing. I bet you what also happened with Gambit is that those X-Men movies started to fucking suck, right? Like
Yeah.
they spiraled downward really quickly, and then it turns into the problem I think this Sony-verse had, where it's like the thing that's supposed to be the center point of all of this is failing. We can't support. Gambit was a risk already. I bet you though Gambit would have made money if it was a good movie. I bet you Gambit would have worked if they had.
Yeah, because Gambit's like a very popular character for our generation and younger, much like
Yeah,
Venom is.
Gambit
And then I
is.
think a certain group of people don't give a
Yeah,
shit.
it's like Gambit's popular among a certain generation, and Channing Tatum in that moment would have gotten a movie to a certain level of box office, right? Like if you just made Gambit
Hmm.
kind of cool enough in the trailer, like it maybe would have worked. It's in retrospect it's a little silly that it didn't happen at all. But that was, do you remember there was like uh there I believe that the when they announced the Gambit thing, it was one where they literally brought him out of Comic Con and they had no script or anything. They were just like, just go out at Comic Con or whatever the fuck. Like
Yeah.
there was, but that was also the Fantastic Four era of the Fan Four stick. Um, and do you remember? I don't know if anyone remembers. There was like a whole controversy that Fox was like paying people in the audience at Comic Con that year. Do you remember this?
I have no recollection
There
of
was
that.
like there
What?
was like a conspiracy. I have no idea if it was true at all. It could just be one of those like nerd things, but that like they were paying people to be excited for Fantastic Four, and that the questions were the people that lined up for questions were all already staged by the studio. So like they asked really softball questions. It was like a total promotion event, right? And it was
Mhm.
in the wake of all the reports about how disastrous the production of Fantastic Four had been, right? So I think that was partly why that was in the air, which was like the one thing that maybe hurt the whole Gambit announcement. So what a
Yeah.
different world already. Like it's already kind of insane when we look back on what was going on at that time. Um, that just is Hollywood more sensible now or worse?
I'm gonna say worse. You know why?
Mm,
Because when franchises stopped working over 10 years ago, you just stopped doing them.
mm.
Now it's okay, let's try it again later. Like they just announced the new Charlie's Angels movie,
Oh
right? It's coming
God!
out.
All right.
Yeah, right, exactly. Nothing against Charlie's Angels. Like I just people just don't care anymore. And then I heard, well, they're bringing Lucy Liu, Cameron Diaz, Drew Barrymore back. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I heard,
Mm.
right? And I'm like, okay, at least I could understand why you would do that, but like 10 years ago, not
Yeah, I
now. And
mean,
nothing even against those actresses. It's just people don't care. Like people have a soft spot for those movies on the internet. That's not going to translate to like real world stuff. It's just not something people care about. And people stop caring about stuff after a certain point. That's just what happens with the passage of
but
time.
that's just where we're at. I think, like, especially post No Way Home, it's like that is the new thing. No Way Home, Deadpool and Wolverine is like made it being like, let's see who we can get back. It doesn't matter anymore why. Like, it isn't like we're not even bothering really to do legacy sequels, right? It's just who can we get that's still around and shoehorn into this thing, right? It's they've abandoned the soft reboot attempts. It's literally just let's see who we can get, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we're seeing that with
Yeah.
the upcoming Scream 7. Like that's a whole thing with it of just being like
Mm-hmm.
the allegedly the really convoluted AI plot that's going to bring back all these people that aren't in the franchise anymore. Um,
Because yeah, because they died,
yeah,
and it's a franchise that takes place tangentially to our
yeah.
reality, but people die and they stay dead.
What are the
So
chances that when it comes time for Star Wars Episode 10, if it's going to be like we got Mark Hamill back, like that's going to be how they sell that
I
thing?
don't. I think they'll try
Mm.
it, but I don't think that works for that one anymore because that was Force
No, no.
Awakens. Now the
Well,
movie was obviously more than
it
that,
doesn't
but
matter if it works. I'm just saying, like, what are the
Oh, you
chances?
just saying like they're gonna do it?
Yeah, like, what do they do? Like, if Harrison Ford is still around, like, how much money do you think they maybe throw at him? I'm not even trying to diss the guy; he's just old. Like,
Yeah,
but like,
yeah.
how much money do they throw at him to be like, and Han Solo is back somehow, right? Uh, and
Hmm.
Darth Vader. Like, what are the chances of that? Is Episode 10?
Uh, well, considering one of the Fox X-Men writers is on the
Mm,
project right now, probably pretty high.
yeah. I mean, that's the other thing is that they only know how to mine these things. They do not know how to build off of them, right? Like
Hmm.
it's. I mean, look at the absurd stuff we listed of like all these movies they want to do with Spider-Man, where it's just like it's literally just digging into the lore of Spider-Man, being like, what do we have? There's no natural growth or building off of anything, right? It's just like, what do we
Yeah.
have that's already there, as opposed to just being like, hey, maybe we do a spin-off of something that already worked in the movie, right? Like, not saying that's much better, but it's just it's not just being desperately being like. I mean, that we saw that with Star Trek recently of the whole what is it, Section 31. I'm just being like, oh, we got like a fucking spies and Guardians of the Galaxy type characters in the Star Trek universe. Let's just make a movie out of them, right? And that was it. It was just because Section 31 was already a thing that existed in the universe. And there
Hmm.
was no attempt to build up. And it's Star Trek's weird obsession with its own legacy, right? Of just where it's like well, the most successful Star Trek spin-off thing, arguably, is the Next Generation, right? Whose whole point was, what if we just jumped ahead like 200 years? And
Yeah.
and meanwhile, all of Star Trek's recent output is being like, yeah, but what if we went back 200 years? Like, what if we just revisited everything we've already had over and over again? Starfleet Academy is like the first one to really jump ahead, right? Of just being like, let's go really far ahead. And like, that's a like fucking like Harry Potter plot, right? And it's also like post like we blew up the whole universe, so we got to like start from scratch. So now it's an excuse to just redo Star Trek. Like, ugh.
Yeah, and I'm willing to bet that's why they keep like relitigating these Spider-Man spin-offs. Because like the Venom thing stuck around for an entire decade. It took a decade to get that movie
Yeah.
made, and that's between three separate franchises in the Spider-Man world. And then it doesn't even cross over with the Spider-Man franchise that's actually happening,
Hmm.
which is just kind of hilarious in hindsight. And I'm not saying I wanted that, but that would have gotten me to see the new Spider-Man movie in theaters when it comes out later
No,
this
it's
year.
just
Like I would have gone to see Tom Holland harass a little boy.
yeah, yeah. You mean Tom Hardy harassed Tom Holland?
Oh yeah, yeah, Tom,
I mean,
yeah, yeah. Tom Holland bullying a little kid
if you
too.
wanted to make these movies somehow gayer, like you give Venom the twink to hang out with, like it would be incredible. But yeah,
Yeah. Well, Venom 2 straight up has a coming out
yeah.
scene, which is unbelievable. And people don't like that movie.
Um, hate that movie. It kind of has a big dumb ending. I kind of haven't thought about it since I saw it. I will say the Eddie Brock Venom back and forth is the best stuff in those movies of just them
Hmm.
of a sort of like like gay coded relationship essentially, and that is the strongest stuff. I think it's a little. I'm always iffy about this stuff of being like when they go that far with it in Venom, right? In Venom 2. Um,
Hmm.
because I don't know, like it's turned into a weird like LOL, we're gay, right? I think Deadpool has just soured me on that type of humor, like
Yeah, well, Deadpool is an evil
yeah.
franchise, but Venom is pure and good, obviously.
Um, and but I will say of the versions, I think the Venom that version of it was one of the better ones. And of these movies, I think Let There Be Carnage is probably the best one, right? Like of just
Yeah, I think it's a considerable margin
yeah,
of the best one.
yeah,
Like I kind of like the third one, but that one they fuck up by being like, maybe we'll continue it, maybe we won't, when it just needs to like commit to making a story. And they do that thing. I don't know what the fuck it is with these franchises. Whenever they get like big enough, they remove that character's supporting cast. Like, I haven't seen Ant-Man 3. I know we talk shit about it all the time, but I haven't seen it and I feel comfortable talking shit about it. But like his little crew of criminals, now several of those people were canceled, so like I understand. But like they removed the supporting cast of characters that Ant-Man had to do a big Avengers level spectacle thing, right? And Venom 3 removes his supporting cast except for Mrs. Chen, who just has like a cameo appearance in Vegas. And it's like the kind of the fun of these characters for audiences. I'm not saying for everyone, but for audiences is like they've carved out their own little niche in the world. And I don't know why they insist on removing that.
Yeah, I don't know what.
For these
Yeah,
things. I
that
don't know.
keeps happening, and I guess it literally is a thing of. I bet you it's a contractual thing, and studio notes being like the plot has to be about this, and there's just plots that will not fit certain characters. I always felt that way about the second Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes movie, where the first one does a really good job setting up his supporting cast, right? And then like most of those guys are just abandoned in the second one, save for like quick cameos.
Yeah, they pop up for a little bit and then that's like
and it's like, no, that's the dynamic is what's fun. It is not Sherlock Holmes like fighting the fucking world, right? And studios just don't get that. And I've never understood that, right? I don't know. How are you I get you have to have stuff in the trailer, right? And I get you have to have stakes that are easy to understand for audiences. And studios are like, we want bigger and better. Like, I get that to some degree, but how do you not understand what you sacrifice to get that sometimes? I don't know. Like, that baffles me.
Well, here, almost a year ago, I was complaining about the Daredevil Disney Plus season, right? Because it was bad. And that had the same exact problem. It was like, congratulations, you're in the big leagues now. You're officially in the MCU. You and Kingpin. Oh, it turns out this story's not really working without the supporting characters. Well, we can get one of them back for a couple episodes, and we already filmed too much, so now we have to kill off the other one. And it's like, it's just ridiculous that keeps happening with these. And look, to be very like sentimental, how many fucking like even children's movies are about like, hey, you can be in the cool kids clubs or you can hang out with your friends, and the correct choice is choosing their friends.
Yeah, you know what?
And these fucking movies can't do it.
The question, because everyone who runs the world right now was someone who decided, no, I'd rather be in the cool kids club than hang out with my friends. Like, that's literally the people running the world right now. So you nailed it. That was not just pure sentiment. That's 100% what's going on.
Thank you. Oh fuck! Everything's so stupid.
Everything is so dumb, Diego.
I know. Well, here to get even dumber, with what we're talking about like these characters in these worlds, none of that is tangible in any of these Sony Spider-Man spin-offs that we're actually here to talk about. And I find it very interesting, like you brought up, that like these studio decisions are like, well, the brand or the character, like just do that. Like you don't need all this other stuff. And it's like, well, what is the character at this point? Like why should people have tuned into the Sony Spider-Man universe without Spider-Man, which became a joke that it's a Spider-Man universe without Spider-Man, right? Like, who cares about Morbius? And that's not even including Jared Leto, who is box office poison. He's killed like 3 franchises alone, single-handedly. And they keep letting him terrorize people.
What did he just got announced in another thing recently that people are upset about?
Well, he is Skeletor in the Masters of the Universe movie coming out. And so I'm like, all right, that movie's going to make $5 now. Congratulations, everyone.
You fucking...
and I don't care about that movie.
All right, but like... Are you fucking serious, man? Like... Skeletor. I'm just like... Do you know who was Skeletor on the fucking Kevin Smith written show?
It was Mark Hamill, right?
Hamill. He's the fucking Joker. Oh, that's why they did it. You fuckers. You
Yeah,
you
you
fuckers.
saying that just
You
clicked in my
you
brain.
fuckers. You fucking fuckers. Oh my god. Oh, I hate everyone. I hate everything. Ugh. Ugh. I hate everyone. And
Yeah.
what an embarrassment. And now both those shows, He-Man and She-Ra, aren't streaming currently because of whatever the fuck's going on with the He-Man rights. And
Oh yeah, She-Ra and the Princesses of Power is what you should track down by any means necessary. It's an excellent show. It's one of the best things ever produced by Netflix, and
Netflix lost it, of
it should be
course.
available.
And
And Netflix lost it. Um, yeah, it is not legally available to watch by the time you're able to listen to this episode. You track it down, however. Seriously, that show fucking
no, it's
rocks.
great.
My friend called it Pastel Avatar: The Last Airbender, which is exactly
Yeah.
correct. Um, yeah,
No,
great show.
it's an outstanding show. Hopefully it'll come back in some form that's more accessible, right? I don't know.
Mm.
That's in a very weird spot right now. But yeah, that's such bullshit. Yeah, fucking fuck Leto. Um, but yeah, I mean Morbius. Like who even knows that Spider-Man technically fought a vampire, right?
Yeah,
Like
and I think like for me as a nerd, I think I've talked about like how honestly over 10 years ago now, I sort of had like my version of a Spider-Man universe. Like the dream was like to do it as like a TV show, like as an animated show, like with a little bit more of an edge, not like with like not TVMA or anything, but you know like a world where you could have Morbius show up and like kill people,
yeah.
you know. But like you do that as a Halloween special for Spider-Man.
Yes.
Like, what if you did Fright Night with Spider-Man? Like, oh, a new neighbor moved in next door to Aunt
Hmm.
May. Boom. You know, it's you
Yeah,
fucking
I
you do
mean,
Fright
it's
Night with Morbius.
almost like a character like Morbius primarily works in contrast to another established character.
Yeah, and the character themselves are not that interesting, to the point that I'm assuming they figured that out during production because they were like, we need to make sure people see this fucking movie. Um, all right, Tyrese Gibson, you're gonna play like a superhero with like this mechanical arm, and there was rumors that it was gonna be like, oh, this is connected to the MCU Spider-Man, right? And the arm was gonna be like Shocker's arm in Homecoming, and like the FBI would be using that or whatever to like fight back against super criminals now. Um, all the scenes featuring the arm were cut from the movie
It's like, yeah, I was kind of
because
like,
that didn't
I was like,
happen.
what are you talking about? I had forgotten.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, here's the thing. So they clearly realized that wasn't working because Michael Keaton, who is in the post credit scene of the
mm,
movie, which is like infamous for being like the worst post credit scene of all
yeah,
time, he was like in the movie for a couple scenes, and then they just kind of were like, "All right, we just need this as short as possible, so relegate that to a post credit scene where he's gonna be talking to someone off screen. I guess Morbius. We'll figure that out later." J. Jonah Jameson was in the movie. J.K. Simmons was gonna have like a either a cameo or a small role as J. Jonah Jameson reporting on the events of the movie, and they cut him
mm,
because they were just like, let's just dump this shit. Like it was held for like 2 years because of the pandemic or whatever.
yeah,
I'm assuming someone saw the movie and they were like, you know what, just fucking let's just drop this bomb and get out of
yeah.
here. Which is hilarious that like people on the internet genuinely convinced the studio to re-release the movie because of the memes.
Morbin time.
Like that's the best thing to come out of the movie.
Yeah, if it had been a couple months difference, he would have popped up in Deadpool and Wolverine and said it's Morbin time.
Yeah.
They'll
So
work it into the
hilarious.
movies at some point, but um, you can find Jared
Yeah, and then
Leto being interviewed by a VTuber promoting Morbius.
oh, okay.
Yeah, just throwing that out there. I can't remember which one. I think it was a Fox themed one.
Yeah.
I'll be honest.
I thought
I've watched the Danny Boyle Corona interview like 4 times. I keep watching it.
Oh, that's amazing though,
Yeah.
because Danny Boyle's like, he's confused, but Danny Boyle's like so excited about like life, and then next to him is Alex Garland, who looks like he's unhappy to be alive.
Yes.
Like he looks like he wishes he was
Yeah.
dead, despite being a brilliant artist, obviously, who I respect greatly. He looks like he
D-
wants to end it
Are you?
all.
That's so weird because it seems so opposite of the tone of his work. I would never have guessed that the writer of Sunshine maybe felt that way.
Yeah, I know that sounds like a
Yeah, I
stretch.
know. Are you telling me Ex
Speaking of wanting
Machina?
to end
Are
it
you
all,
telling me Ex Machina was written by a guy who hates the world and himself?
speaking of people who hate themselves, Madam Web was, I think, the most recent movie to be memed. I'm just going to cut to it really
Yeah.
quickly. That Kraven the Hunter is such a bad movie. It didn't even get successfully memed. Like there were some jokes, but it didn't even like cross the
Well,
barrier that Morbius and Madam
I
Web did.
also
And
think
Madam Web, people were trying to convince me was like the next big like Cats level
yeah.
disaster. And it's just kind of generically bad. And there's, you know what I will say though, there's some good shit in it.
Mm.
There is. It is terrible, but there is some good shit in the
All
movie,
right, good for you.
which was shocking.
Um,
Yeah,
but what
I'm not gonna break it down scene by scene, but like it's got some great location
well,
work.
I've actually
The action's actually kind of
I've
interesting.
heard the take I've heard about Madam Web is basically that there might actually be a great bad movie buried in there, but the studio either attempting to fix it or just shorten it probably made it more dull and uninteresting, right? Like it wasn't allowed to flourish as the
Yeah,
bad movie it could have been, right? Where
yeah,
maybe
exactly.
genuinely could have been. But also you have to think about it, it's like Sony ended up in such a terrible position because it was like they had this weird run of just being like, okay, Amazing Spider-Man movie's bomb, but we already have Venom being produced, right? And we don't know what we're gonna do with that. We kind of have to make it at this point. Like it's just we've had too many meetings about Venom to say we can't make it.
Hmm.
And it comes out as a hit. Homecoming starts this new thing. No Way Home ends up being like one of the highest grossing movies of all time. So like the Spider-Man thing is still hot. And then the same year as that, Let There Be Carnage does do well. So it kind of gives them this false sense of security of being like, maybe we can actually do this. And so they actually, part of the reason why Morbius got memed was because they actually promoted it, right? There was actually an attempt to get
Hmm.
eyeballs to see Morbius. And then it got savaged and bombed. And then it's a 2 year gap between Morbius and Madam Web, right? And it's
Hmm.
very clear that both Madam Web and Kraven the Hunter were just too far into production to stop, right? That it was like the writing was clearly
Yeah.
on the wall, but they couldn't stop it. I'm guessing part of the Madam Web thing was they were just like, let's try to promote it a little bit, see if we have anything here. And it was very clear they didn't. And then by the time Kraven the Hunter was coming around, they were just like, let's, because I don't remember any promotion for Kraven the Hunter. I think I saw one trailer for it. Like, I think that was it, frankly. And I can't think of anything off the top of my head aside from that. And I bet you if they'd pushed it a little harder, we might have seen more Kraven the Hunter memes, right? Um,
Hmm.
Whereas like her web connects them
There
all
was
was at
one
least
moment
somewhere.
that got yeah, there was one moment that got kind of memed. It's when the guy who plays the Rhino, who's a good actor. Let me actually get his name because I like him a lot. He was just in the Architect movie with Adrian Brody. What's this guy's name? Alessandro Nivola plays the guy who becomes the Rhino, Alexei
Mhm.
Sestevich, in Kraven the Hunter. And he's got the vibe of what that movie should be.
Mhm.
Like he's such a fun presence as like a douchebag henchman
Mhm.
type, right? And there's a moment where he's like, because he's got like this pack that turns him into the mutated Rhino person. It's so fucking ridiculous, and not in a fun way. It's just lame. Um, but like mid transformation or something, he tries to make like a noise that's clearly going to be like 80 yard later, right? And he goes like, "Ah!" Like that's the noise. That's the noise he makes,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. I have heard that they absolutely were supposed to ADR that with like a monstrous roar at some point, and I don't know what happened, but that That ADR never happened. It never made it into the movie. I don't know if someone forgot. I am not joking. I don't know if they just were like, we don't care about the movie anymore. Just release it, you pigs. I have no idea. But that moment is very funny. That it's just in a movie that was released to the public on planet Earth in 2024. And
Just reminded me that
that's the only thing that kind of like relegated to meme territory for the movie.
Kurtzman direct The Mummy.
Oh my God, he did. That's
just
right.
reminded me the Universal embarrassing attempt at a shared universe, which also had the trailer where the audio was all fucked up. That's the only reason why.
Oh my God, yeah.
And I mean, again, The Mummy was actually a proven franchise, bizarrely enough.
Yeah.
And it was like Kurtzman comes in, it's like, yeah, what if it was the conspiracy thriller? I guess, you know what, now that I think about it, we're talking about like cheat codes for writing. It's like Magic Blood is a cheat code. Conspiracy thriller is another real cheat code of just being like, now you can justify going anywhere, right? Like, your plot, it's like, oh, well, we tracked the signal. It's going to fucking a McDonald's in Nova Scotia. And now you can go to Nova Scotia. And it's like, why? It's because we have to get a tax break if we shoot there. Like, literally, it's just, you can now, your plot is written in a way where you can justify going anywhere with whatever brand deal you have, right? So, I guess that's why the Fast films turned into that, you know?
Yeah.
Because, like, part of why Fast 5 works...
It's the worst stuff.
Part of why Fast 5 works is that it's basically one location for most of that movie, right? They're in one city. Like... Whereas, I say one location, not one room location. I mean, like, a city.
Yeah.
Like, I know how they get... But, like, whereas post that, it's a lot of globe-trotting that starts happening afterwards. And that, to me, is a mistake. I think if you're making a movie about driving, you should pick a city and set it in that.
No, I completely agree, but I will say, like, the first time they do it in, like, Fast 6, even though, like, some of the stuff starts getting... That's, like, where they first start getting lost in the weeds a little bit, for sure, because the globetrotting.
I like Fast 6, but to me, like, it is a step down from Fast 5.
No, for sure. But, like, the fact that it's, like, these characters doing it, because that franchise wasn't that before, that it's like, oh, if this is the one where this happens, that's pretty cool. Yeah. You know? Like, they're in this scenario... They're in an Avengers-level action movie because they fight the Masters of Evil versions of themselves in that movie, which is part of the reason why that movie rules still. Like, that's cool. If it's a one-off. The fact that it became the franchise, that's unfortunate. Yeah. And again, that's something we could talk about in relation to a singular franchise in the Fast films. Versus, what is the connective tissue between Venom, Morbius, Madam Web, and Kraven the Hunter? Stuff that's not actually in any of these movies. Just that we're supposed to know they're related to Spider-Man.
But also, like... Who the fuck knows who Madam Web is? Like, really? Like, that is such a... Spider-Man fans don't even know who Madam Web is.
Yeah. Well, because she fucking sucks as a character. All this... Spider-Verse Web of Fate bullshit is lame. Yeah. It's not what makes Spider-Man interesting. Yeah. You know? Like, Madam Web's kind of like, if you ask me, like, that's a Doctor Strange villain at best. Yeah. You know?
Well, Madam Web worked for like 5 minutes when she was introduced, right? Like, there's an element of Spider-Man characters where, like, there's enough juice to them that they were kind of interesting for me. Like, that she's a Denny O'Neil co-creation, right? Like, and it is a unique character. And I will say, like I said, the Morbius thing is another good one where I know you go, like, you don't really like the mystical mixed with Spider-Man, and I get that, especially when it comes to Chosen People arc and, like, this fucking fate and all this bullshit. But when it works in contrast to Spider-Man is when those characters shine. Like, these three, more than any characters, right? Of just, like, Kraven the Hunter, you need Spider-Man to work. Who the fuck is he hunting?
And they try to turn him into like this like revenge-seeking action hero, but he's also like, they talked him up as like, oh, he's like a defender of nature and stuff, and he's protecting animals. And like, I get why that's the pivot you make, His name is Kraven the Hunter, though.
Yes.
So like it's a hard sell
Yeah.
when you're arguing that.
Yeah. It's
Um,
it.
yeah, so apologies to the great JC Chandor. I hope he's not in director's jail because of that.
No
Because
one.
you know who is?
Only Sony should have gotten blamed for those movies. So
Yeah, because like S.J. Clarkson, who's a pretty fantastic television director, finally gets the shot at the big leagues to do a feature film, and it's fucking Madam Web. And again, like I wasn't joking when I said there's like some good stuff in the movie, and all of it's the direction. Although I will say Dakota Johnson's actually giving a pretty good performance, despite not caring about
I think
anything.
Dakota Johnson is very good at just selling something like that, right? Of just like her not
Mhm.
caring is more interesting than if she cared.
Yeah,
She
but
looks
then when I finally saw the movie, I'm gonna be honest, that's exactly like what the character is doing. Like, I don't even remember the Cassandra Cassie Webb. All right, I forgot her name. I had to look it up. Like the character's like an
yeah.
asshole, and like it's not an accident. It's not the performance. It's like the character doesn't like that they have to save people, but they're doing it because it's the right thing to
No, that
do.
makes
But they also like don't like people, and it's like a really interesting dynamic. It's just a bad
no, it makes
movie
perfect
around
sense.
her.
Honestly, like they all should have been pieces of shit is the thing. The other thing is that Venom I think Venom was kind of like that a little. Like they tried to make him more of a like journalist that's like trying to expose secrets in the first one, and they kind of stopped
Hmm.
caring about that element going forward. They should have been pieces of
Yeah.
shit, like not necessarily awful, like the worst people. They should have been like Shane Black characters of just like they're fucked up,
Yes.
like, and like
Yeah.
yes, they will do the
I,
right thing, but they're disasters in their personal life.
yeah. I mean, that's why I love Tom Hardy's Venom. It's my
Yeah,
favorite version of Venom, frankly. Like he's just like he looks like shit progressively more and more as the movies continue.
uh,
Like usually, like okay, a character goes for something, and the next time they look even better. And it's like no, he looks like
yeah.
shit by the start of the second movie, and by the end of the third movie, like he ends the franchise like without shoes. You
Well,
know,
what's hysterical
like
is it's like he just refuses to come to terms with the fact that he has a Venom symbiote in him. Like, it's he could make peace with this multiple times, and he's just like, no, I am not adjusting my life, and it will make everything worse. Like, it's an interesting choice. Um,
yeah. And then, but like those characters, there's like a genuine arc for them in the second one, especially where it's like the conflict of that movie is that these two guys can't say that they love each other. Now we can obviously read the homoeroticism into that, right? Which they want us
yeah,
to. But like that's just a genuine buddy dynamic in the movie. And it like sells it. And the conflict arises because of their inability to do that for each
yes,
other. Which is hilarious. And I don't know what the conflict is in Kraven the Hunter. He's got to hunt Russell Crowe, who's his father in that.
sure.
And yeah, it's like generic action movie shit, which I should like eat up and love. And it's just it's generic bad movie, much like the first Venom. And I know people really tried to claim that one. I can't do that yet. I'm sorry. I don't think I'll ever do that. It's a
There's
bad
good
movie.
moments in it you can find on
Um,
YouTube.
yeah,
Any,
and
any
that's
movie
it.
where you can just find the good moments on YouTube is probably not a good movie.
No. Um, But you know what? This is actually good. I want to really give S.J. Clarkson like her flowers because she's doing some stuff with the action in Madam Web. That I swear to God, this is not a bit. I'm not doing a hot take. It's just you can see she's really giving this fucking material a shot. It's like, okay, she can see like alternate realities. She can see the stuff play out in different ways. How best to capture that in cinema? And she's using like expressive camera angles. She's covering dialogue in interesting ways with her cinematographer, Mauro Fiore, I think, who fucking shot Avatar.
Of course.
um, yeah, and she's really going for it. This movie shouldn't be held against her, but she's a woman, so it will
Yeah.
be. But I would watch like a real movie from her any day of the week. Um, good stuff there. And I guess let's see. Besides Dakota Johnson, because like it sucks that all of like the female-led superhero movies get shit on, and then this is like a genuine disaster. And it's like, yeah, this is kind of easy. I'm a big Isabella Merced fan. I think she's a great actress. I'm glad she's getting higher profile roles. I liked her as Hot Girl, even though that's the one character that doesn't get something to do in that movie. Although she does kill Netanyahu at the end, which is kind of fun.
My favorite character in the movie.
Sorry. Oh, is she?
No, the fucking evil guy.
Oh, I was like, whoa, what a take! But
No,
no,
I love that. Remember, I was so excited. He was such a fucking piece of shit. He he had
yeah,
zero redeeming quality.
yeah, which is like a fun thing. Like that's the other thing. Sometimes it's just fun when villains are pieces of shit
Yeah.
too. Like we got to get back to that more often.
I recently watched a version of Hamlet that was shot for the BBC, because it was Christopher Plummer's Hamlet and Robert Shaw as Claudius. Um, and we've done a lot of, like, there's been a lot of reinterpretations of him, Claudius, over the years, where like he's been more sympathetic, and Shaw just plays him as a straight villain. And that was actually like, just because I haven't seen that in a long time, it was actually like a really unique take. And it's like, yeah, sometimes the guy doesn't have to really be conflicted. Like, he can just suck. So, you can do that. That can be as engaging as a
Yeah.
conflicted guy.
Do you know who Ezekiel Sims is?
No.
Okay. Well, he's a shitty Spider-Man villain.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, he
who-
was in the Straczynski run. Because I read that
Yeah,
while
yeah,
it was
yeah.
being published. Shows how much that character stuck out. But that was my first.
Yeah.
I told you when I started buying comics. It was during the J. Michael Straczynski era. So I forgot that character originated there. Straczynski was big on the fate and like mystical side of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Doesn't he literally go into a cocoon at one point in the Straczynski one and like bursts out of it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Which, to roll it back to our earlier discussion, I think was literally because at the time the movies gave him biological webs as opposed to the webs he had to make, which is in the comics he has to make the webs. So I think they literally just did that just so now he biologically produced the webs as opposed to making them.
Oh, that's fine.
I'll say,
it's all fine.
Thinking about it, naked Peter Parker bursting from that cocoon might have done something for me back in the day that I didn't realize for a long time. When I look back
Well,
on
I'm glad you got that out of it.
Actually, don't hate Straczynski's run until One More Day. It's a little uneven, but there's some stuff there.
Yeah.
Like towards the end, it really,
he
really sucks.
Yeah, but I mean, that's not even like entirely
Yeah.
his fault. I mean, that's just fucking. No one makes that story work.
He has the like Gwen Stacy's twin children story, right? Like,
oh, I don't
that's
remember.
another really bad one. But
I just wanted to mention Ezekiel Sims because all the stuff relating to him in Madam Web, that is like the bad movie, like iconography. Like that's just hysterical to me. Because the character doesn't wear like shoes in the comics. So in the movie, this dude's hanging around like fucking with the dogs out the whole time. Just because the character does that in the comics. And he's got like this... He's trying to kill these women before they become like Spider Women, right? Like Anya Corazon and Julia Cornwall, and like Sydney Sweeney, who that is.
I know,
and,
real quick, I was on the Ezekiel Sims Wikipedia page. And I was just scrolling down, just kind of like looking through it real quick. In the See Also section, it links to the article List of Barefooters.
I just saw that.
Wow.
Wow.
All right, foot fetishes. Like, how much power do you guys really have? Because you're pulling some strings somewhere. Probably on some toes somewhere. But like, what's going on? Like, as the bare feet keeps being a thing. I do not like feet, frankly, but they keep popping up everywhere. So, what are you doing?
Yeah, I'm not a foot guy myself. I think feet are gross,
They
but
are.
clearly other people
Ezekiel
don't.
Sims' feet do
So,
not look good in the comic. They look
yeah.
like a guy who's been
Well,
walking around barefoot for most of his life in fucking New York City.
yeah, Tahar Rahim plays him in the movie, and he got dubbed or something because like that's a good actor. That's a very
Yeah,
good
he's from
actor,
the
and
star
the
of A
dialogue in the
Prophet,
movies,
a great movie.
yeah, what Ryan Coogler's called his favorite
Yeah, that
movie,
makes sense, actually.
and it's like I get it. Yeah, unfortunate that that director would continue to make movies after that, but that's fine. Um, but yeah, like it's a very strange character already, and nothing in the movie explains like what his deal is. He's just like, I have to kill these girls because they kill me in the future. And it's like, okay, I guess I like that's a Terminator plot.
Yeah.
That's the Terminator plot, right? Easy for a robot
No,
AI thing to
nothing,
have something that simple.
nothing in this movie happens for a coherent reason. Like, it's just an excuse just to have the movie happen. That's it. It's
Yeah,
there's nothing
yeah.
coherent here.
Yeah. And then I love the tribe of the secret tribe in the rainforest in the Amazon that they move like Spider-Man
Mm.
and they have like Spider-Man like attire, which I'm sure is pretty offensive, and just like
Yeah, to
hysterical.
my cultural heritage
Um,
as a Spider-Man.
yeah, yeah, the secret spider tribe in the Amazons that we all know about.
Um,
Um, I don't know. It's all this stuff is bending over backwards to be semi-related to Spider-Man, but also not, to the point where Adam Scott is in the movie as Ben Parker, his wife Emma Roberts, who is much younger than him, but I guess that's not relevant, playing Mary Parker, right? Uh, I had assumed before the movie came out that they were that he was Peter Parker's father and Emma Roberts was playing Peter Parker's mother, which she is, but Adam's playing Ben, which and these characters are supposed to be the parents of Peter Parker in the MCU. That was like the initial premise of this movie. They're saving Tom Holland's Spider-Man
so that's
from
why
the
that's
bad
why
guy.
there's so little of his backstory. I guess that a lot of this stuff is now explaining like why Homecoming is the way it is, right? Which
Yeah.
it's not a huge complaint about me for Homecoming, but the fact that those movies keep getting bigger is like making those elements worse. Like, if they had just stuck with the high school thing, I wouldn't complain as much. But uh,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's what we were all excited about. We're like, oh, they're really doing it this time. Because you and I and many people still think Homecoming like
yeah, it's a
works. And
Homecoming is a
then
good
it,
movie, and
yeah.
we keep accidentally bringing up Michael Keaton, but he's like one of the best villains in that movie. Like, he's great in it. And
Yeah.
it was a weird moment of being like, oh shit, they actually can do this, and then I was like, what if we just stopped? Because
Yeah.
Homecoming is like such a fastball down the middle, just like, yeah, it works, right? Like, you got it. It's it's
Hmm.
it's about these characters going back and forth in their personal lives, and there's a villain mucking things up, right? That's what Spider-Man
Hmm.
is. And it was like, yeah, but what if we just put him on a thing and then he's working with Shield, but not really?
Yeah.
um, Fuck all these movies. I'm
Yeah.
done.
And so,
I
like,
can't.
I know it
I can't
sounded.
do this anymore. I'm about to lose my mind. You're like describing plot elements of these movies, and I'm just sitting here going insane. Like,
Yeah. No, we're going to wrap
I
up
am
right now because there's
I'm
not really
having a
anything else to talk
heart
about.
attack. Like, just listening to the nonsense coming out of your mouth right now. It's just
I just need to say that the only, like, and now it sounded very convoluted, the Emma Roberts, Adam Scott situation. And that's because, like, a lot of the reshoots were to
what's
basically just
convoluted
remove
about any of
references
that
to
you
Peter
just
Parker
said.
and everything. Yeah, yeah, I know. Um, and all these movies are dead now because the failure of
Well,
Madam Web and Kraven the Hunter
but
killed them.
a trailer dropped recently
Wait, what are you talking? Oh,
for
yes,
a
yes.
television show.
Yeah, Spider
Spider
Noir,
Noir.
starring Nicolas Cage, which is kind of just fucking crazy that Nicolas Cage is doing
Yeah,
television now. Like that feels incorrect to
it's
me.
crazy that's happening, but also it's crazy that Nicolas Cage is like years wanted to be a superhero to the point where he's like, yeah, I'll be fucking Ghost Rider if that's all you'll give me. Like it's like he tried to be, and then it's like now he's in like a dozen superheroes. It's just through sheer force of will, basically.
Yeah.
um,
Um,
but yeah,
yeah, but he's a highlight of those Spider Verse movies, which all happen tangentially to the rest of the Sony-verse, and they're the good ones. They're the ones that like
and
worked.
I don't know anything about the show. I didn't actually watch the trailer. I just know it exists. And
Yeah.
I'm guessing the problem was John Mulaney was getting canceled when they were trying to do the Spider Pig movie. But
Oh.
can you imagine like a Who Framed Roger Rabbit with a Spider Pig? That could be fun.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Oh wait, was that like the
no,
premise?
I'm just pitching that right now. Sony's gonna steal it.
Okay, that's a fucking
But
great idea.
I one thing I hope the show remembers is when I saw No Way Home. I mean, not No Way Home. When I saw Into the Spider Verse, which what year is Into the Spider Verse? Um,
2018.
20
Same year as
2018.
Venom.
So we're in the second year of Trump one. And uh, when Spider-Man Noir is like telling his backstory, and he goes, "I like to drink milkshakes and punch Nazis." The whole crowd cheered. Uh, in Pennsylvania, which went for Trump in two of the three times he's run so far.
Oh my
So
god.
I hope the people making Spider Noir remember that a little bit. But um, anyway, that was how are the Spider Verse movies doing?
Yeah.
We're,
Yes.
aren't we ready to get beyond the Spider Verse?
I'm very excited about that movie. I also struggle to wonder how like what do you even do? Because it's basically just a long third act.
No, I'll say I think Across the Spider Verse has a very good Empire Strikes Back like ending. I really think there's a lot of potential of what to do there, particularly because we haven't gotten a look into what evil Miles Morales is like, right? Prowler Miles
Yeah.
Morales. I bet you.
Well, he might not be evil.
I mean, we might not,
We don't
but
know.
I'm saying that whatever we do with that character is probably going to determine how that movie is, right? Um, and they have
Hmm.
yet to solve the central conflict of those things, right? Of the whole
Yeah.
canon event element, right? Uh, that partly why I can't come down fully on Across the Spider-Verse is because a lot of the big ideas that movie introduced are unresolved, right? And they could I don't know where they could go with it. Like I'm interested in that. It's just hysterical to me. They were like, "Yep, it's coming next year," and now it's not going to be out until 2027. Like, what the fuck was going on there? Like,
Yeah, the eventual story that comes out about that is going to be hilarious cuz yeah, like what on earth did you think was
yeah,
possible in a year's time? I remember like after the movie was coming out like at the Oscars or something like that. Like Haley Steinfeld was getting interviewed, and people were like, "Oh, you've done your lines for the sequel? Yeah, everyone's so excited." And she was like, no, not yet, not
that
yet."
was what
And it's
was
like,
strange was it was like, yeah, it's coming next year. It must be like basically done. Like, and the more it came out, it was like, no, it's not even really started. Like that was kind of insane. I mean, and it was
mm,
also in the wake of all the press about how brutal making Across the Spider Verse was, um,
yeah, which is
which is its own
not
can of
cool.
worms. But then it
Yeah,
was like I don't know. That was a very strange moment. I guess it really was a producer. Just it must have just really been fucking Amy Pascal being like, "Yeah, we could totally do that in a year. We have a script." And it's like not giving a fuck what happens to animators, right? Like, yeah.
hmm.
And I'm sure the press tour for
I
Across the
think she
Spider
does have
Verse.
some quotes about
I'm sure the
that.
press tour for Across the Spider Verse will be cool and normal, or Beyond the Spider Verse.
Yeah. Well, Lord and Miller had time to do fucking another movie in
Yeah,
between them. And I say had time. I don't know actually. Maybe they didn't and they
Yeah.
shouldn't have. I genuinely don't know. But they got Project Hail Mary coming out like in a couple
And they
weeks.
also
So
solved all the problems with Cuba.
Yo Soy Cuba is an excellent film available on Criterion, and I highly recommend all of you watch it. But to Spider Noir, I do want to say I have seen the trailer, the black
There
and
you go.
white and the color
There you go.
version. I assumed it was just going to be
There
in
you go.
color.
Just
Uh
call the
huh.
movie I Am Cuba.
I'm Mexican. I can
But
speak Spanish. It's
but
fine.
first of all, it's we're in a very interesting spot in terms of race right now in this country, and it's also the English channel people know.
All right, fine. I am
Called I Am
Cuba. Everyone
Cuba.
go watch I Am Cuba.
We speak
Yeah,
American here.
you white monster.
No,
Yeah.
I had flashbacks to all the people that
Have
will
you?
call like Spirited Away by its Japanese name and be like, "Have you seen this?" And I'd be like, "I don't think I haven't." And it's like, "You mean Spirited Away? Just call it Spirited Away."
Oh yeah. Or like when people call House Hausu,
Yes. Oh my God.
and it's
Oh,
like no, no. The actual title is
just
also
call
just
it
House, by the way.
House.
Yeah.
Especially if you're trying to get people to watch. That's why I freaked out. It's just you were trying to get people to watch the movie.
People like foreign films now. It's
They do, but
fine.
also it's called I Am.
Listen. It's a great
If
movie. You
I
should all
go
watch it.
if I
But
go
the
to
point.
Barnes and Noble to buy the Criterion copy of it, what's it going to say on the?
Then yes. In America, we'll say
Yeah,
I
yeah,
am Cuba.
exactly. What do we? Is this suddenly an international hit of a podcast?
No, but sometimes we trend in Ireland and Thailand.
Wait, what?
I don't know. For the most popular places outside of America, it's Canada, Ireland, Germany, and I think Thailand. I have to double check that, but it's a very broad spectrum, and it's not all the time. But every once in a while, it's like, wow, 100 people listen to us in Ireland today for some
Okay, well, if you're
reason.
in Thailand and you're
So
listening, send us a message. Want to know what's going on
yeah,
there?
but yeah, Spider Noir. Actually pretty impressed with how it looks. I don't know if I'm gonna like lock in to watch it because I'm not really I don't care. But Nick Cage is committed, and it looks like we're getting like a full on Cage
I
Rage
mean,
performance,
has
and I'm always
does
pro
he ever
that.
really phone it in?
No, he never phones
Yeah,
it in, but sometimes he's more interesting than the
yeah,
rest of
yeah.
the stuff around him. And this actually looks like, hey, I think it looks pretty good. And it's not something I was ever interested in prior to seeing that
And
trailer.
and
I was mostly just looking because, like, sometimes these people are like, oh, this movie, the show, it's like the Maltese Falcon or whatever, and you're like, no, it's not. The black and white photography is like great shadow depth, great like it looks legit. It looks like they actually filmed with that in mind and not just
yeah.
like figured that out later.
I think Lord and Miller are kind of trying to carve out this Spider-Man thing as being their thing right now. It seems like because they have their hands in Spider Noir, and there's like two
Yeah,
spin-off movies supposedly happening with across the Spider-Verse and all that shit. And I mean,
sure,
yeah, like no one. Well, I guess what we're saying is no one's learned from all of this, right? And
yeah.
whichever one is the one that's always being annoying on is it Lord the one who's always like anti-Cuba or whatever the fuck? Uh,
I think it's Phil
yeah, if you
Lord.
could just
Yeah,
shut the fuck up, they could keep their popularity because right now the average person doesn't know how annoying they are. And they could maybe get something out of this. And who knows? Who knows? Because it clearly didn't work with whatever the fuck happened on Han Solo. Um, uh,
yeah. They well, I mean, their process that's kind of come out about the Spider Verse movies is that like they'll have like a finished script, but like they just keep rewriting shit constantly. And like, look, I'm not gonna say like the movies don't
yeah,
work. Like they're clearly, I think they're great films, but it just sounds like kind of a like the David Fincher thing we talked about. It sounds just like an exhausting
yeah.
process. And Kathleen Kennedy one of the great producers of all time, who we just had to, like, we're lucky enough to have running good Star Wars movies for a minute there. Um, not that they all worked, but she didn't want to put up with that shit.
Yeah,
That's what got him
yeah.
fired. You
Yeah,
know.
and they kind of became martyrs for a cause I don't think they really stood for. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. If there's a way to wed that sort of spontaneity with like actual good filmmaking. I mean, with actual like working where a way where it doesn't like exploit the people around you, right? You know what I'm saying? If they can find a way to marry that,
Mm-hmm.
I would be fine with it. But it does sound like a lot of people are being made to like feel burned out and exhausted by that process. Because they literally, there's a take in the Lego movie that is just what's his name? Oh God. Uh,
Will
no, not Will
Ferrell,
Ferrell.
Chris
Morgan
Pratt.
Freeman. There's a delivery that is literally just Morgan Freeman yelling at them uh, because of the amount of takes they've been asking him to do different ways, and they just put it in the movie because
Oh, and it's like in
yeah,
the
they just put
movie,
it in the movie because
right?
they thought it was funny. Um, there's one there's it's when Chris Pratt's being introduced to the council in of master builders. There's like a bit where he's mixing up Gandalf and Dumbledore, right? And they're kind of like they're going back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something where he goes like, "All right, you guys are gonna have to figure that stuff out on your own because I'm out of here." He says something like that, and that's literally him like yelling at Phil Lord Miller, like just hey, that's interesting.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, it's an absurd franchise, and it's all just wildly mismanaged. Like, even the good stuff that we briefly mentioned and the stuff that looks kind of compelling, like, it's not a real
Yeah,
franchise, and yet they're insistent on trying to do it as such. And look, man, I'm sorry. You should just make regular Spider-Man movies with these characters.
yeah.
You're gonna make less of them, but I promise people will be more interested in them. You know, like whatever. I'm not talking about like the sanctity of the Tom Holland ones. Like, I like him as Spider-Man a lot, but like, just just put all the shit in the Spider-Man movies that belong
Yeah.
to Spider-Man. It's not that
I
complicated.
mean, we're just
Uh, you can keep doing the animated stuff. Maybe the TV stuff will work out with Spider Noir. Maybe that's where they go, and that could actually work. But for the most part, this is all just
yeah.
baffling, and like it's never been less baffling. It just gets more baffling
Yeah.
as
I
time
mean, they're
goes
still
on.
so addicted to this shared universe thing. And I guess it's just because it elevates. I mean, it's the thing of, sometimes like a sequel gets made, and you're like, why did, like, I know that this happens with Disney products a lot where they're like, why are they even doing another Toy Story? And it's like, well, because every time they do another Toy Story, they make more money off the other movies because people rewatch them, right? Like, there's some sort of
Mm-hmm.
thing about that where they like it every time they do another one of these things, it elevates the others, and that's been from a shareholder perspective, the value of these movies is that there's a part where you have to go like, okay, well now I would like maybe someone doesn't go out and watch they won't watch every Marvel movie, right? Not everyone's going to watch every Marvel movie, but maybe they'll go to a friend and be like, "Hey, what do I need to watch to understand this?" And it increases the value of other movies around it. That's the value from a shareholder perspective of Spider-Man. I mean, of a shared universe. But the Sony Spider-Verse is a pretty good example of just like if it's not really building towards anywhere, you're not going to get anyone involved, and there's not really anything here to build with, right? Spider-Man is Spider-Man. That's kind of all you got. You get a Venom maybe once in a while, but beyond that, what do you do? And now the one thing though that maybe will work for them, at least a little bit better, is this sort of Spider-Verse thing of being like, okay, well, we're gonna have 10,000 different Spider-Men, right? That this
Mm-hmm.
is where so now we're not doing Kraven the Hunter, but we are doing Spider-Man set in the jungle, and then we'll put Kraven the Hunter in that, right? So it's like Jungle Spider-Man or something. I don't know what the fuck it would be called. But like whatever doesn't conflict with whatever Marvel copyright there is, you know? Um,
Mm-hmm.
maybe that'll work a little better. And then it just really becomes about like who you get to play the Spider-Man and like the vibe of it. But because it does seem like the ultimate slot machine right now of just different types of Spider-Man. Um, but I don't know, like we're at this point, like if I don't know, the shared universe thing is something that is it's we seem to be at the end of that experiment, but now we have DC kind of swooping in, trying to be like, let's try again, right? That we've gone through it. Let's see what we
Mm.
do this time. And I guess Supergirl will be a big test of that. If that's going to work at all. People seem excited about Supergirl. I don't know what to tell you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Uh,
Okay. I haven't seen it, but I feel like you're in more real America than I am. So
I think it's I'm not I wouldn't say I'm in more real America. I'm in more communities than maybe film nerds are sometimes, if that makes sense.
yeah,
It's one
yeah.
where I go like, if something's popular in the film community, I know, okay, if a movie is popular among film people, I'm like, that doesn't really mean anything to me, if I'm being honest. Like, yes, the movie is probably good,
Hmm.
but that doesn't mean it's going to be popular. But if like someone in like the fucking board game universe is talking about a movie, then I'm like, okay, it's reached a different sector, right? And same with like if
Hmm.
a video game is being talked about among film nerds, and I know that like okay, that video game has a lot wider reach than I initially suspected. That's all it seems to be. I just see people who
Yeah.
aren't necessarily comic book people talking about Supergirl, so in a positive way because they're all still and a lot of people that aren't in our immediate circle are really still jazzed off of Superman, the recent Superman movie. Um, so
Yeah, that one. I think that one really has legs that other DC movies, with the exception of like the Batman, haven't had. Like we're gonna talk about Aquaman in a bit. But like that first one was a monster hit, and I love it, but it doesn't have the legs Superman had, in my
yeah,
opinion. Where like people are like, well, they're making fucking Instagram reel edits to like the punk rocker song now because of that
mhm,
movie, and I've seen like the fucking TikToks of people like walking out of that movie like kind of fake crying, but also really crying, but saying like, "I'm gonna be a good person. I'm gonna be a
yeah,
good person." And it's like, it's like a joke, but that's the effect the movie had on them. That's like
yeah.
real and authentic, and you can't really manufacture that, as we've seen with stuff like Morbius. I remember when fucking influencers and critics were paid to promote the release of
Mm.
the movie, not to give an opinion on it, just paid to talk about why they were excited about the movie. And then that movie dies on the vine immediately because no one gives a shit. So I'm just saying it. You can tell when it's real. You can tell when it's
Yeah.
fake. Here's a question for you before we wrap up. So like, let's say like the Superman stuff works. Maybe the other DC stuff doesn't, but like Superman's like, okay, the Superman franchise for the first time in human history works, and people like Superman, Supergirl, Man of
Mhm.
Tomorrow, and a Justice League with them at the front of it, right? Let's say Spider-Man, you reboot Spider-Man. Do you see that approach working with that character where it's like you can do Spider-Man stuff and he appears in spin-offs? Like you can actually have him appear in spin-off sequels and shit like that. Is that approach even worth it anymore?
Um, are we talking about are we talking about if you have access to the entire Marvel universe or just this pocket of Spider-Man that Sony tried to do?
The entire Marvel universe.
If the entire Marvel universe, I think to some degree you could. I think but the Marvel universe we're so deep into it. I think it would have to be a like if we went back to zero with everything Marvel related, right?
Yeah, like Tom Holland wouldn't be Spider-Man
Yeah.
anymore. So like in 10 years when like you need the new
Mm,
one, ideally you just hand it off to a Miles Morales
yeah.
actor, but I don't think we're going to defeat racism in 10 years in the studio system. So I would like that to happen. I don't
I
think
mean,
they
it
want
might.
that to happen. They're like, oh, the cartoon one?
I don't know if you've noticed, but racism is as unpopular as ever right now, frankly. Um,
No, it's very unpopular, and that gives me a lot of
mm,
hope. I'm just saying, like, within the studio system, like, there's a lot of
No,
shit to
yeah.
defeat there.
I
Yeah.
mean, we'll see. We'll see. We're very, very. We might not. We might have bigger fish to fry by then. So we'll see. Uh,
Oh no, we definitely will.
but I guess.
Or hopefully coming out the other side of those
Well,
bigger
all right. So
fish.
let's just like wind it back. Part of why the Marvel universe worked was that it started on a. It had good footing at the start, right? Where it's like Iron Man, good movie. So people wanted more Iron Man, right? And that
Hmm.
slowly translated to the other Marvel movies. I mean, Marvel either by design or uh, by just accident, the way those movies were paced out was like Iron Man's at the start. And then Iron Man 3 is like the first one immediately after the Avengers. So like Iron Man ended up being like this thing that you could then radiate off of, right? To start building other movies because that character really worked. It seems like Superman is working that way right now for DC, right? Of just people are so jazzed
Yeah.
on Superman that they're like people who were like Superman's a boring character are now like Superman rules. And that now you can I think it again like I was a little skeptical about Supergirl being the next one, but now it kind of makes sense to me, even if I'm not necessarily excited myself. I think people are kind of just we want more Superman, so it maybe translates to it. Uh, in terms of Spider-Man, though, that character. I mean, look, we are the outliers right now in terms of not liking Spider-Man. Spider-Man's more popular than ever at the moment. You know, uh, despite the
Hmm.
failure of the Sony-verse. I mean, No Way Home was like this massive hit, and the Spider-Man animated movies are really popular, and they've had very successful video games, which a lot of superheroes have failed to have successful video games fairly recently. So uh, I don't know. I'm guessing because he's so popular right now, and because it uh, this is hard. This is actually a harder thing to answer than I think. I don't know if there's any good quality version of it. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know if there's anything like quality
Yeah.
wise in terms of success. That's a different question. I think the answer is no. I think right now, if Spider Noir works, I think that will give them a better template of what to do. Right? Of just Spider
Hmm.
Man is still the poster, but you put Spider Man in different scenarios. Right? So
Yeah.
you can do Cyberpunk Spider Man. You can do 50s Spider Man. You can do what?
Oh, that's Spider-Man
Yeah, exactly. That's
2099,
what I'm saying.
right?
Like
So,
you could
yeah.
you could start doing that maybe. Um,
Yeah, yeah, we want it to have a fresh start, and everyone else is like,
yeah,
no.
yeah. I'm giving up on fresh
All
starts
right, I
for
could live
most
with that.
franchises at this point. Um,
Yeah, like tragically, we have to wait for people to like
mm.
die before like you can
well,
really
they're
do
stuck.
that, and that's not a pleasant thought
They've
most of
gotten
the time.
stuck in the quagmire that the comic book industry has been in ever since they started trying to do these reboots in the '80s with Crisis on Infinite Earths. Which is when you do the reboot, there are some comics that are still very popular, right? That have not diminished in popularity, so you can't reboot everything, right? So you end up like doing like these weird
Yeah,
half reboots that then just confuse people. So like I'm sure I'm guessing they might try to do something with Doomsday and Secret War that kind of reboots the universe a little bit. But we're going to be stuck with other elements that people don't want to reboot because they are very popular right now, which Spider-Man being one of them, right? And so
hmm,
I think that's the film has just trapped itself in the way the comic book industry trapped itself in terms of these blockbuster type films. I think the real solution for Hollywood is to fucking just get off their asses and go back to making original films, which I think
well, yeah.
would be the thing that actually fixed this problem. But they're so addicted to this model right now that I don't see that changing anytime soon. Unless someone gets really
Yeah.
daring out there. Unless like, like an A24 or like Blumhouse goes like independent away from the studio and is like, we have to actually nurture our own franchises and stuff like that.
Yeah, the smaller movie production thing. I think people like we've talked about it before. People are kind of like quietly yearning for that,
Mm,
and then I think stuff like Markiplier's Iron Lung prove that like he's obviously got a built-in fan base that's very large,
yeah.
but I don't think that movie is a major hit like it is, unless people really respond to it. And I think that's something else. It's like very genuine that you can't replicate. You can't. Smosh never made the feature film like crossover. They made a movie, but it wasn't like released in actual theaters the same way this was. You
Yeah.
know,
Well, we're at that
and
point in terms of like influencer. We're at that point where it's like, yeah, these guys can actually start getting it. But like the Markiplier thing is interesting just because it's not like he made the Markiplier movie, right? He's like, I'm
mhm.
doing Iron Lung. Like it's and that
Which is
is
something people just haven't even heard of, really.
yeah. And it has that as crossover effect. And we can be like, okay, yes, he has a built-in audiences, but like we used to do that with filmmakers and actors, right? They used to have fan bases and
hmm
they would throw their weight behind stuff they wanted to get made. I just think Hollywood has just totally forgotten how to do that on their own, right? And maybe it just isn't conducive to the current sphere of just culture right now. Maybe you kind of have to be the guy to make your own thing, make your own PR. But I wouldn't be shocked if, yeah, like I think there's a yearning for the independent stuff, but it's about getting people to actually pay attention to it. I think there's a lot of stuff out there people would love, but it's just hard to get their eyeballs looking at it. And once you give it
Yeah,
to them,
that's the real big thing.
yeah, once you
Um,
give it to them, they'll like it, but it's hard to get them to go for it. And we've changed. It's the problem we feel with right now with like why bother when you just stay on your phone. And
mhm.
and I'm not trying to be like kids are dumb and stuff like that. It's just like no, it's just easier and more convenient, and we've gotten rid of accessible entertainment spaces outside of that, right? And
Yeah. I mean, I know sometimes people cringe a little bit at like the theatrical experience so important, whatever. And like, obviously, I'm very protective of that, as are you, and like a lot of other people. But there is something to selling that to people. Like, even apart from personal beliefs about it, like it's probably the closest thing I have to going to church is going to the movies, right?
yeah,
Like, even apart from that, convincing people that it is a special experience and then delivering on that, like that will make an impact. That causes change, even if it's just getting people like out of the house to go do that. And there's also like all these like fucking reports that like younger people are the ones that go to the movies.
yeah,
So like delivering stuff that they're actually interested in certainly helps. And what they're not interested in is fucking Morbius.
yeah. Exactly. Morbius is something that here's the thing, they will be interested in it as a meme on TikTok. Like that is the extent you'll get with Morbius.
Yeah.
But in terms of getting them to go to the theaters, I just wish we could explain to people more that like no, going to a good theatrical experience does matter. Like I just saw Malcolm X on the big screen for the first time.
Oh, fucking
And
fantastic.
great movie. I've always loved it. It plays so different in a theater. It's just so true. Like when you see a movie that was meant for a theater played in a theater, it's just so different. And I don't know how to translate that to people, right? Of just being like, no, you need to see a movie this way, right? Um, it played so well. I'm at some
Uh,
point where I'm like, I need to rob a bank so I can build a theater in my home and watch all movies.
yeah, unfortunately, you mentioning the great Malcolm X film by the great Spike Lee filmmaker does remind me that Spike Lee was actually approached to direct one of the Sony spin-off films,
Which one?
Night Watch, also known as Night Eater.
You know what though? I'll say this. I would have liked to have seen a Spike Lee superhero movie.
Oh,
Like
yeah, dude,
just in
absolutely.
general. Like and hey look, Static's out there. One of these days
Yeah, I
they'll
didn't
realize
realize there's a bunch of rights bullshit holding that character up too, because like
mm,
that's another one huge with younger demographics.
yeah, what exactly is it? What is the
I don't know. I think it's something to do with the who made that character. Hang on, let
oh
me
god.
check.
Well, it was
It's
produced under an independent it was that guy's own thing, Milestone. Um
yeah, Dwayne McDuffie.
yeah,
It's his estate,
okay. I'm
which obviously compensate the
yeah. I'm
the fucking
guessing the
creator's
deal that
estate.
was made. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm guessing the deal that was made was because DC owns Static and all the Milestone characters, right?
Hmm.
I'm guessing that the deal that was made is, but if they want to do cartoons and movies, they still have to deal with that estate to some degree, and maybe other people own those rights currently. Just the
Yeah.
adaptation, because Static still appears in the comics, correct? Like he's still
Yeah.
in DC.
Yeah. But I remember like even I think Young Justice couldn't use him till season 2
Okay.
because there was stuff they had to work out.
Mm.
Because Dwayne McDuffie also had just passed away like when that show started.
Okay, yeah.
So like that must have been a problem even when he was
Mm.
still alive, unfortunately. Um, but yeah, so that sounds. I don't know the extent of it. If it's something as simple as like just paying the estate, like just
Mm.
do that. Like don't be stupid. It's
Yeah.
money on the table. But yeah, so that's I backtrack a little bit. Yeah, Spike Lee was like he met with them at least, and
Mm.
then like by it was from March of 2018 to October of 2018, where he was like at least ballparking
Mhm.
being involved with the production, and then it
Okay.
was like, nah, not happening. Chio Hodari Coker was working on the script,
Mm.
and that was while he was still like doing Luke Cage,
Mm.
so that was like a real deal thing.
I
With
mean,
those guys involved, that sounds like it could have been kind of cool.
the crazy thing is they really were trying to make these movies. Like
Yeah.
they really it was not a they got made, right? Like a bunch of them got made.
Yes.
There was a genuine effort put in. It was just anyone could have seen the writing on the wall before they even got to the stage where these movies were in pre-production basically. Like
Mm-hmm.
we could have seen it's because the remember the wake of like the Transformers success, but didn't Hasbro put together like a writers room type group to try and like develop a shared universe? Do you remember this? Like,
Yes,
and
and do
it
you
was
know
like
where all that effort went?
it went all in the way into the last night,
Yeah,
and
which is hysterical.
but it was also like a way overqualified room, if I remember correctly. Like they had some like genuinely great writers as part of it, but
Mm-hmm.
then I think it was all being overseen by what's his name? Who's that fucking guy who also sucks? Who wrote like the Dark Tower, and he wrote a bunch of the Transformers
Oh,
movies. Um,
yes. Hang on. You know, let me.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
looking at the Dark Tower film.
yeah,
Akiva Goldsman.
yeah. Like I think he was the one overseeing that, which maybe explains how that shook out, right? Um,
Yeah.
what's he up to right now?
Well, he wrote Practical Magic 2, which is out later this year.
Oh boy,
Um, that's a
why?
shame. I like the first Practical Magic.
Most people like the first Practical Magic. No one wanted a sequel though.
Yeah. Um, that's very unfortunate. Also, that this is not related to Spider-Man at all, but like that's such a cozy looking movie, just like aesthetically and
Yeah.
like the lighting and the colors. Like it's such a pleasant experience until they have to do the murdering abusive boyfriend stuff, which isn't like a bad angle, you know? It's just like, okay, that stuff's not cozy. And then it gets cozy again at the end, and it's very nice. You come away feeling good after that movie. And a lot of that is the look and like the design and the aesthetics. And you just know when that trailer for Practical Magic 2
Yeah.
drops, it's like it's just gonna have that fucking Netflix sheen over it.
Yeah, it's gonna look bad. But
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
hey, I'll
Yeah,
give people
that's what
credit.
Akiva Goldsman is up to.
Talking about young people again. I'll give young people credit where they noticed how much worse Happy Gilmore 2 looked than Happy Gilmore, and
Yeah.
it's like not like Happy Gilmore was a triumph of filmmaking, but
Mm-hmm.
like it's yeah. Like I think more and more people are becoming aware of what's going on, and unfortunately, we have an industry right now where it's being like, no, no, let's pivot to AI, which looks even worse somehow.
Yeah. And thankfully people are like it looks like they're rejecting that outright
No,
too.
AI is
Also, it's just
being
harder to make a movie with it.
AI is being violently rejected. It's not actually a very useful tool.
Yeah.
And uh here's the thing. All right, because I've actually been thinking about this lately. I let's remove all the moral debates about AI, right? Let's just like for
Mm-hmm.
a minute,
Yeah.
like ignore that.
Like it doesn't damage the environment. It's
Yeah.
not taking jobs. Let's just talk about it as the tool they're positioning it to be,
And
right?
let's talk about it specifically in terms of arts, right? Let's talk about it in terms of art and yeah, like entertainment. What is the actual use of AI?
What the initial arguments I heard was that it would make independent filmmaking a lot easier. And I think one of the first guys to really get on board with it, I believe it's the director of the movie Searching with John Cho,
Hmm. Oh yeah.
where he did that commercial with AI about like, oh, you can. It was like a Google AI ad, and he was saying like, you can make your the movies you made as children, you can fulfill like the fantastical versions you had in your mind that were never possible before.
Mhm.
Like you can make that Star Wars type fantasy adventure. I'm putting words in his mouth for that
Yeah.
part. But like that's what he's saying, right? That's what the argument was, that's what the commercial is selling you.
Mhm.
And again, taking out the ethical quandaries of it, like I could see why that would be appealing to people.
Mhm.
The argument against that, even like not interested in the ethics of it, is that the fun of making that stuff when you don't have the resources as a kid is that you are just letting your imagination run wild.
Mhm.
Because otherwise, you're having something else's imagination
Yeah.
working. You're working for another imagination. It's no longer
Yeah.
yours. And I'm not even talking about theft. I'm saying like it physically is not yours.
Mhm.
You did not make that. That's the baseline artistic problem of it. Not even the thievery aspect. It's just you didn't do that.
Yeah.
It's you're also just doing it like in a room on a computer.
Mhm.
Like the fun of creating art and expressing yourself through like cinema is that you're doing it with other people, or at least it's supposed to be,
Yeah.
right?
If it's totally generated AI, I can't imagine doing that much interesting with it, right? Like when you
Mm-hmm.
talk about it in that context, I was thinking like, well, let's say I made a movie with friends, but like I generated the AI background, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that could be a little fun if you're like a kid hobbyist using it, right? Again, like
Yeah, yeah.
devoid of the ethical stuff. We're ignoring that for the time being. But have you ever heard of a RPG Maker?
It sounds familiar.
RPG Maker is like this free to use tool that basically lets anyone you can make like a old school RPG. It comes with like all these built-in templates for making an RPG game, right? It does a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
like engine heavy lifting for you. Um, but it also has a very like negative reputation among creatives because it's like so many of those templates just become boring after a while because everyone's using them, right? Like it's like okay, well now everyone and you're just swapping out little pieces here and there. Now, a handful of good games have been made through RPG Maker. I believe Humaniki was made using RPG Maker, but that person worked really hard to kind of shave off a lot of the standard stuff that comes with an RPG Maker game, right? Like to make it individual and stand out. So maybe if you're a kid hobbyist and you're working with this stuff and you're willing to put the effort in to actually make your thing distinct and actually figure out what it is, maybe you could actually figure something out with it, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be shocked if that happens, but I think you're also right that there is an element. Like to me, when I'm thinking of let's say like if I go back and if I'm suddenly, 12 years old again trying to make movies in my backyard, I feel like I would still want to make them with my friends, but also if I was going to use AI as a tool, it would be like to add like a monster to it or something, or to change something digitally, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
and make my friends laugh with it, maybe being like, what if we put big head mode on, stuff like that, you know?
Yeah.
And occasionally maybe something good would come out of that, like artistic wise. But there is a problem of being like I think the trying to give it all over to AI is the absurd thing that I can't imagine getting anything good out of that, right? Like,
Yeah, like what do you do? Like this is not even the same ballpark of uh similarity in terms of technology.
Mm.
But let's say, for example, like, do you remember Gary's mod?
Yes.
Yeah, for people that don't know, Gary's mod was like the Half-Life engine that you can go in, kind of make your own stuff. You could put like ragdoll effects on for characters owned by Valve, and then eventually people modded it so you could add like iterations of other characters. Like you could have like an army of Master Chiefs fight like an army of
And
Kirby's,
and people
right, with
made
models.
movies in Gary's mod.
Yeah,
And
there's that.
people make movies now in Roblox and Minecraft and stuff like that. So like there is a precedent
Yeah,
for it. Um,
yeah, and like that is like, to me, a very interesting tool. We've talked about like machinima before, where I kind of thought like, oh, we're gonna see like a new wave of stuff, and like hasn't really happened.
mm,
There was Grand Theft Hamlet.
yes,
Did you see
recently.
that?
Yeah, yeah, very
Yeah.
interesting.
Uh
More interesting as an
yeah.
idea than execution, in my opinion. But
Yeah, but very very interesting, and like I'm really glad stuff like that exists. I thought I would see more of that in my lifetime, in the aftermath of stuff like Halo's Forge engine mode and stuff like that.
mm,
And like Red versus Blue, I thought like, man, every game's gonna have something like this, and that just didn't happen.
yeah,
And I think part of that is when people sit down to actually try to make shit like this. Like, let's say they have everything they need at their disposal to make a Red versus Blue type series, right? A lot of people just end up not being that interested,
yeah,
or like when you're actually telling a story with that, because that started as like a comedy show,
mm,
but there's like an actual narrative to Red versus Blue that I
yeah.
lose track of. I tapped out after season 10. It's on like season 24 or
I
something
know
now.
it's absurd.
um yeah, which, more power to them, whatever. But like sitting down to actually make a story happen, even with a prompt, right, is a lot of work, and a lot of people just aren't interested in that life. Like that is another roadblock to the possible success of AI, right? Like prompting things to make a feasible, understandable story is basically impossible unless like it's your life.
It would have to.
Like
It would. It comes to a point where it would be as difficult to just do stop motion, right? And
mm-hmm.
like to just do actual animation, maybe even harder to some degree, because the computer's probably going to keep
Yeah.
fucking things up. I mean, I'm guessing it's going to turn into like you're basically going to have AI generate everything frame by frame as opposed to actual like putting in the movements themselves. If you wanted something that was actually coherent and good, and again, at that point, why not
Yeah.
just do actual animation? So,
Yeah, and
uh,
that's the generative AI. Now, to your point about like using it as a tool, to wrap up here, there's like machine learning, which is different, which they did use on stuff like Across the Spider-Verse, which
yeah,
is different than generative AI, and it doesn't have the ecological ramifications or the ethical. It's not stealing anything. You're you yourself as like the artist, to my understanding, are using the computer to generate, or maybe generate's the wrong word even, but to like to code and program in like motion and movement in the animation that has been designed by
yeah.
human beings already.
Mhm.
It is not impacting anyone's job. It is literally there to make the workflow easier. That seems like the future of AI that's better. Like people talk about like, why are we using AI for like art when it should be like trying to cure cancer, which is like the right attitude and approach to have. Like we have this new technology, why not use it to actually do things that are going to make people's lives easier? And why are we using it to take stuff from people, um that seems like a better possibility. So like let's say for example someone like drew a background in a computer or even like on paper, take a photo of it, throw it on a green screen, right? And that's a background for a movie scene that some kids made, right? Because I'm assuming kids are much more technologically savvy than I was at their age. And then you like have the machine learn to program the background on the green screen, like to change time of day or something like that, right? Like I'm just pulling shit out of the air to make this comparison, but like that seems like an exciting way for kids to have fun with that, you know? Or an artist to get like really expressive and experimental even. Otherwise, like, what are you even doing? Like that sounds kind of boring. Like the thing with Gary's mod, like not everyone's making Emesis Blue, which is I think the more popular Gary's Mod film.
Yeah.
A genuinely trippy, like, experimental movie that's free to watch on YouTube that someone made completely in that game engine. Most people aren't going to do that. And the stuff people are going to come up with are 1,000 Kirby's versus 1,000 Master Chiefs, right?
Yeah, like that's to
Fun
me,
for a bit.
yeah, AI is definitely going to take over that sort of slop thing of just like, what if, an X-Wing versus a fucking fighter jet or something, like I could see that. And it's going to be even less engaging than it already is, frankly. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, rarely is that stuff actually that good. There are good examples, obviously, but usually it's when someone actually put the care into it.
Hmm.
Something like speaking of Red vs. Blue, like Monty Ohm and like his, he did like Dead Fantasy, which is the dead alive girls fighting Final Fantasy girls and stuff like that. But he animated that shit. So like you can do it, but again, I think you're right where it does take a certain level of effort and actual artistry that even with AI as a tool, it would still take that much. Because I have seen some like AI generated stuff, and I'm always just so thrown by like how careless it is. Because I think the people that right now are using it are entirely using it for slot purposes, right? And not
Hmm.
actually
Yeah.
trying to make something good with it. Um, and maybe because people who would actually make something good with it don't want to use AI. And that might change with the younger generation where the stigma isn't there, but who knows?
Yeah, and I also think, like, I have a very firm belief on this that anything made with AI, there has to be a watermark, like, in the corner or
No,
something,
100%.
and
Yeah.
you cannot remove it legally. Like, you
No.
have to have that on there.
No, no. I can't imagine a future where that doesn't happen. Like I can see them kicking that ball down the line as far as possible, but
Yeah, yeah, it's not gonna
literally
happen right now.
yeah, yeah, especially with this administration where they're benefiting from the chaos of it. But like
Hmm.
and it would have to be really strict. It can't be a fine. It would have to be one of the stricter laws because like that it can get really messy really quick. But we haven't had a moment like that cross into the mainstream yet. There was that brief period where people were basically using Grok to make inappropriate child imagery of real children. It was like a brief moment that happened a little while back. Um,
Yeah, yeah, and people have to like go to prison for that,
yeah,
by the
yeah.
way.
Well, that's the thing is that like yeah, if you're doing that, you're going to jail. Like that should be the punishment of something like that. And I think it's just similar to be like spreading misinformation should be equivalent to yelling fire in a crowded theater, right? Like
Hmm.
you gotta we have to start treating it that way. It's just right now, um, the people in charge kind of benefit from not doing anything about it, and also everything's turned into team sports and politics. So like you have people that are just defending AI just because their buddy who's in charge likes it to some degree, but. There will be some world event where there will be massive consequences to a fake AI image, and that will get people to wake up a little bit. So I think that's where it really goes. Um, but I
Yeah, I hope it doesn't come down to something that heavy, but you're probably right, unfortunately, and
yeah,
I
I'm
do think
mm,
the outcome, the world will be much brighter once we have those things in place
yeah.
to reduce
It
harm
has to be
on
a
all of this shit.
we have to one of the two challenges facing us right now that are like immediate and we need to deal with and will not happen probably under this current administration and possibly not even under the next Democratic administration is we need to break up the tech companies and we need to regulate AI massively. Like those are the two things that kind of need to happen. Both might happen though if they actually crash the economy with this bubble. Like if that happens, then I could see major change happening, but you know, we'll see.
They will try to make a Sony-verse movie with AI. Anyways, Matt, thanks for joining me on this super jam-packed episode that
Yeah,
at first I was like, it's probably going to be one of our shorter ones. Naturally,
that's
that
why we
wasn't the
picked
case.
it for today.
But
We were like, this will be
yeah,
shorter.
yeah. We're like, yeah, we probably don't need to get too in depth and revisit everything scene by scene or something
I
like
didn't
that.
even rewatch the movies this time. I literally was just like,
No,
fuck it.
confession. Uh, the only way I've ever seen Morbius all the way through is in a TikTok that compressed it down into 60 seconds.
Yeah, you told me.
I have seen scenes, and I've seen the scenes. I don't need to sit down with that movie.
Yeah.
You don't have to give a movie respect when it stars Jared Leto.
Exactly.
And I mean that from the bottom of my heart.
Exactly.
I have seen Madam Web and Kraven the Hunter all the way through, along with the Venom movies, though. So I do feel like I've done my due diligence. And I hope I made it clear that I genuinely do like Venom, too. So... And I thought Madam Web had moments that were okay.
Okay. That was
Matt,
fun.
That was great. I'm very excited to do a couple more of these as we finally wrap up the longest ongoing failed blockbuster season.
Yep.
But this has turned out pretty well. So thank you for joining me. Anything you want to plug, link below. Otherwise, I'm just going to tell everyone to check out the descriptions with all of our information.
I don't have anything currently, but Diego, you might have some stuff going on right now in the streaming sphere.
Yeah. I should be winding down a playthrough of Resident Evil 8. I've been told it's not that long, and I did, at the time of recording, I've done one session on streaming it on the YouTube channel for the Waffle Press. And the first hour 15 minutes of the game kind of flew by, and a lot of shit happened, and so I've been told the game is very well paced like that. So looking forward to that. Loving it so far. I want to have it done before Resident Evil 9. I don't know if I'm going to play it on my PC or PlayStation 5. We will see. But I will continue that because these new Resident Evil games rule. So, yeah, stay tuned for that. And actually, you know what? That's kind of it. I mean, check out the other stuff on the Waffle Press on YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, and Patreon, where you, patron, are listening to this episode early.
Yes.
Because I don't really have to cut anything. So it's going to make it a lot easier in editing for me. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. We have been professionally unprofessional.
It's Morbin time.